Good morning, everybody. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we just ask you today to please watch over this meeting of our commissioners and be with all our employees and the citizens of the county as they go about their lives this week. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We'll now call the Linn County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from last week's meeting? If not, I'll make a motion to sign them approved as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to sign the minutes approved as read. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
On the claims, we have a bill from Harding Law Office for $2,075 for counselor fees. I'm not in favor of paying that, so
Okay.
I make a motion that we pay everything except the $2,075. The total is $479,029.47 minus the $2,075.
Okay. And we haven't paid the previous invoice either.
I still have that check here.
Okay.
We need to figure out if we're canceling those or paying them or for sure what we're doing.
I think we should go ahead and pay those invoices to Burton and move forward with our new counselor.
So Burton stepped in kind of at a time of emergency for us. And I was the one that kind of orchestrated all that and called him and set it all up. So I appreciate everything. You know, him stepping in and doing it. And I think we owe it to him too. I know there's a statute that talks about the duties falling into his arms, correct?
Yes.
And we had a resolution from 1989 before I was born, but you know, I'd be in favor with Jason to go ahead and pay it and be done with it, and thank Burton for stepping in at a time that we needed him and just move forward. So,
Okay, so there's no second to Jim's motion on the claims. You want to make a new motion?
how would that motion be, David? Would it be to go ahead and release the first check to him?
I think if that's what you want to do, we would need to specifically mention that one because it was excluded from pay a couple of weeks ago.
And how much was that check?
That one was $2,825. And then we would also need a motion to approve today's bills if that's what you guys are wanting to do.
I'll make a motion that we release the first invoice from Burton for his duties as the step-in counsel for us of $2,825. And then I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the claims as presented for a total of $479,029.47. That includes a second invoice from Burton.
It was $2,075.
For $2,075.
Okay, I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to release the invoice, the check for the invoice for Burton's first invoice, Burton Harding, at $2,825 and pay the claims in the amount of $479,029.47, which includes the second invoice And final invoice from Harding Law Firms in the amount of $2,075. Is there any discussion?
Now, Mark, we are not liable for this. You don't believe, I mean, as far as by statute?
Well, I don't want to divulge any attorney-client privilege information, Jim. You can waive your privilege, but the other two guys would need to waive their privilege. Let me say this. I've considered the question that's come to me, and I believe the county may be permitted to make this payment as if one of the other departments has submitted a claim, and if after further investigation, if after further inquiry, it was discovered that it was an inadvertent overpayment for any reason, to go directly to your point, Jim, if it looks like it was an inadvertent overpayment, having met the treasurer, I know that they've got a system for recouping overpayments. They will get their money back. But in this case, there is a difference of opinion among lawyers on whether and how this claim should be paid. And when it comes to me, I'll treat it the same way I treat, let's say, Public Works or any one of the other departments, and say they did their due diligence. They looked and they said this was a valid charge to the county. And like I say, we can go back and relook at it afterwards and recoup it. But I was maybe being a little narrow-minded. Let's push this $4,000 away from the $400,000 that you got to worry about today and pay the claim. And we can go back and look at it again. And I'll commit to you, I'll do that if you ask me to. If the board asks me to go look at it again, I will chase it down and see if we overpaid him for any reason. Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yep, thank you.
What does the statute say? Does it say that the duties, can you kind of explain that?
Well, the statute is kind of loosely written, but it says that if there is no county council, the advice and counseling to the Board of County Commissioners and other duties as requested would fall to the county attorney. That's just the way it's written. But what Jim's coming to is a question of, as a practical matter, what happens when there are two different jobs and this job became vacant with the resignation of the prior one? And that's a new question. There's no case law on it. It's a question of, did Mr. Harding step in at the request of the board to fill in a vacant position until it was filled? That's one question. The second one, if he were asked to do that, would it actually have been, to Jim's point, was he told to?
Right.
Because that was his job once it was vacated. And the curve is the 1989 resolution that said they're two separate jobs, whereas previously they were one. And that would take a little more digging, perhaps the opinion of the Attorney General, which happens all the time and can still happen if the county Board of County Commissioners wanted to recoup an overpayment, an inadvertent overpayment.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Uh,
Motion carries 2-1. Any adds and abates?
No.
Okay. AMR, Don? Thank you.
Okay, good morning, Don Brooks with AMR. I've got two reports here. One's for the month of April and then one's for the past week. So I'll just continue on with my theme of monthly totals. So I'll go to April's totals. In April, there were 22 calls to Blue Mound with 6 transports. Centerville had 4 calls with 1 transport. Fontana had 2 calls, 1 transport. Lacine had 29 calls with 20 transports. Linn Valley had 7 calls, 5 transports. Mound City had 29 calls, 8 transports. Parker had 3 calls, 2 transports. Pleasanton, 26 calls, 16 transports. Preston had 8 calls, 6 transports, for a total of 130 calls and 65 transports in April. Any questions?
Did everything get fixed with the call transfers and everything that way?
I will follow up today. They did do a fix for the weekend as soon as we figured out the calls from Linn County Dispatch were being transferred to our dispatch center to the non-emergent line, which there's supposed to be a fail-safe that does not happen. Any 911 call goes straight to the emergency line. So our IT was digging into that, and they were going to follow the calls over the weekend and see where that was, if that were transferring correctly. And in the meantime, our crews were getting dispatched through Linn County's dispatch just as a fail-safe to make sure they were getting that call immediately.
Good.
So today I should have more information on the weekend of them following that transfer of call. So yes,
Okay.
the short answer is yes, it's been taken care of.
Thank you, Don.
Yes.
How have you guys been dealing with the flood and the road issues? Are you guys, everything okay?
Everything's been fine as far as I know, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's roads that they're having to detour, which can delay getting to the calls, but no one's complained to me about anything excessive.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Don. Have a
you.
good week. Sheriff's report for May 6th. Total prisoners in of 57. 10 releases this past week. Total farmed out of 0. Total farmed in of 44. Total 911 calls of 75. Total jail contacts of 4,391. Total calls for service of 676. Civil service papers served of 57. VIN inspections 2. New cases opened 10. Cases closed 2. Vehicle crashes 2. SRO activities 90. Bailiff contacts 169 with 51 calls for service and 10 livestock out. Randy, fire?
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Hagwell, Linn County Emergency Preparedness and Rural Fire. I sent out the numbers for last week. We had 6 calls. Brings our yearly total up to 225. Out of those 6 calls, only one of them was a fire last week, too wet to burn anything. This week we do have a couple of interviews set up for fire department personnel coming through. So hopefully next week bring some new names into you guys. Carryover from last week. Did you get a chance to do the ordinance or the resolution on that, David?
I have it, yeah.
Yep, we have it.
I did have a couple questions on that, or was questioned. That Suburban is titled to rural fire. It's not a forestry vehicle. It is not a homeland security vehicle. It is titled to rural fire. So Dave went back in minutes where previous administration was given the approval to purchase it and make repairs to it once it was purchased. That was in May 30th of 2017. So, I was asked about that, but that vehicle is titled to rural fire. So,
So I do have the resolution ready to declare that one surplus. We also have a surplus resolution from the Transportation Public Works Department for the old transportation van. So I mean, if you guys are ready to do those things, there's no reason we couldn't just do both of them to get it done.
Okay. All right with you guys?
I'm good with it.
And I don't know, and this may be a Mark question, with it being 2 separate resolutions, should there be separate motions on them or just a motion to approve both or?
Separate motions would be
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-18 for the declaration of surplus property for the 2005 Chevy Suburban 2500 for rural fire.
Have you checked with other departments, make sure? I mean, we did here recently and in the past, we've done some trading on vehicles, make sure department heads or departments have what they need. Have you checked with anybody? Nobody's can use it?
This Suburban, we took out service because of safety issues with the
Oh.
transmission. So,
Okay.
yeah, we were asked about that vehicle before. I was like, we took it out for safety reasons, so I did not want to
Okay.
transfer it.
Fine. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass resolution 2024-18, a declaration of surplus property for the 2005 Chevy Suburban 2500 for rural fire. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
And then the other one I have is actually 2024-17. And I had a copy of this in my files, but I didn't have it scanned in time to send it to you. But it is on a 2011 Ford E350 transportation van. And that is, and it lists the unit number and everything on here. So there are the two resolutions.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we pass resolution 2024-17, a declaration of surplus property for the 2011 E350 transportation van.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to pass resolution 2024-17, a declaration of surplus property for the 2011 Ford E350 transportation van. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
And once I get that scanned, I'll copy it for your records too.
And Randy, yours is going to be a sealed bid, and you're going to advertise in the newspaper, right? Is that
Yeah, we're just going to do it locally. I was going to give them 3 weeks or 4 weeks to get them turned in, and I'll bring them to you guys, let you open them. And it'll have the caveat on there that you have the right to refuse or any or all bids. May 21st at 6:30 p.m. at the Pleasanton Community Center. EM is hosting a poisonous and venomous organisms of Eastern Kansas class, being taught by Kansas Wildlife and Parks. We're going to go over snakes, spiders, plants, anything in Eastern Kansas that can hurt you. They're going to kind of cover it. It's free to everybody. No sign up needed. Just show up that night. And then today, 11 o'clock, we have a meeting with National Weather Service. Good chance of severe weather tonight. So as soon as after we get out of that meeting, we'll get it posted on our social media and update everybody what to look forward to. So they're saying it could be significant for tonight. So
Did we get all the bugs worked out of the Evergreen deal?
the Everbridge,
Or Everbridge, yeah.
that is a third-party contractor that Homeland Security pays for that we use. Is more we're getting into it, more we're finding it's kind of a clunky system, hard to sign up for, hard to get the notifications right. And so we're dealing with Everbridge now, voicing our concerns on, hey, our citizens, you want us to push this system, but it's not working right. And so we've been meeting with that with them and trying to get the bugs worked out on why some of the stuff happens. So some of the notifications, we don't send out those notifications on Everbridge for the weather. That's something that comes from the weather service straight to Everbridge. We have no control over that. So it's based on where that phone's setting at the time. I know I'd seen comments about, hey, we had tornado warnings on our phone way before the tornado happened. Well, that's because it was hitting a tower in Bourbon County. Bourbon County was under tornado warnings at that time. So if your phone happened to hit that tower, it was saying your phone was down there and that's why you got them. So it's a clunky system that is really hard to sign up for. And we're trying to work through that, they're pushing out apps and stuff like that to make it better, but it's.
And I mean, the purpose is so that people will go check the news.
Right.
They get that.
Right.
So that if they're streaming on TV or something, that way they can change channels.
Right. And I posted that on our Facebook pages. That's a good system, but always have a backup to your system. Watch the local news, use that app, and have two systems. I mean, because as we find out, they're not always accurate. So
I saw you put some stuff out on Facebook. Did you get a lot of community input on that?
we did, and we're looking in some of the complaints, I guess, and different things that people like to change. Some of the big things was the lack of shelters around the county. And so we're kind of digging in that, see if we can find some that would be approved and where we can move forward, get those posted out for people. So, but yeah, like I said, we're looking through all those comments, and some of them we can address and some of them are outside our grasp. So, keep them coming. That's all I can tell the community. We look into all of them. If we can help, we will change something or whatever. So
I got a few questions for you on this, the extinguisher deal. Where are we at on that?
if we can get through all the flooding and get that paperwork caught up, we're ready to go test. We just have to get a date set to test. We're still trying to find a machine to refill the extinguishers. We can go get that test and get certified, but until we get that machine,
Is that something you can buy? You have to buy used, or is it I mean,
we can buy new. And we budgeted for it last couple of years. The problem is finding a company that, other than clear up in New York, that's going to cost us more for shipping than it is for the machine. So it's kind of a rare specialty item. I was hoping to find one used around here that somebody's getting rid of, because it's just a compressor and a tank. So
and the flood damage from last week, and where are we at on all that?
right now we have a verbal declaration. They're waiting based on all these storms, because the state has to meet a threshold. So they're trying to get all these storms out of the way to, if there's more damage, they can make a bigger group of thresholds. We've met that threshold. They just don't want to have to do a bunch of declarations. They're trying to hold off as long as they can, make one big resolution. So
How much time do they have on that?
they can go as long as they want.
Go as long as they want.
We've been working with other communities around, checking for road damage in the cities. We have the county one, but just getting all that information in and get it input to the state so they have all that information.
Okay. Other questions for Randy? Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, guys.
Darren?
Good morning, Commissioners. Darren Wilson, Planning and Zoning. I've got an application for dump fee assistance, CD 24009 for Dan Bailey at 7657 Kansas Highway 7, Mound City. He's got a building that he's tearing down, and it's dilapidated. It's about to fall down. It meets all the requirements.
Okay.
What is our requirement on that? I mean, what do we? What's our policy on that?
The property is severely blighted. The property should be demolished. The property owner is doing the demolition, or a taxing district, or hiring a contractor to do it. The property owner or the other responsible party has not been granted a fee reduction in the past 12 months, and that's it. And they have 90 days from the date of
Approval.
approval.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the dump fee abatement for CD 24-009 for Dan Bailey at 7657 Kansas Highway 7, Mound City.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the dump fee waiver for CD 24-009 for Dan Bailey at 7657 Kansas Highway 7 in Mound City. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I've got, Commissioners. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Sean, Public Works?
Sean West, Public Works Administrator. Commissioners, I sent at your request documents on Hell's Bend. I believe you should have a group of documents that begins with the Hell's Bend project and just a short Word document. Cost to date with engineering and right-of-way is just short of 70,000, 68,661. This does not include staff time. The project started, I believe, in 2020, which predates me. So the staff time, I was unable to give you any of that or tell you what administrative cost should be added to that. The bridge was built in 1957. Its gross carrying weight is 8 tons. Replacement cost as of 2016 from the bridge files was $725,000. Replacement costs from those same files in 2024, $1,993,724. The average daily traffic was figured also in those bridge files at 30 vehicles. The sufficiency rating is 50.2, and the status listed for that bridge is structurally deficient. The MBI rating is poor. What that means in evaluating where that is with our other bridges, we have other bridges where there's ratings or sufficiency ratings lower than that, but their structural deficiency as far as the type of bridge doesn't make it as critical to remove from the list as this bridge. If you'll remember, these documents that we sent out to you that were highlighted, those documents denote the bridges that the engineer saw as a need to replace because of the yearly inspections and the status or condition of those bridges. Then the condition is a combination of the condition of the physical condition of the bridge, the type of bridge, the traffic of the bridge. So the engineer rated these based on a combination of conditions, and we have worked per our request to not only replace some of those bridges, to do away with some of those bridges, or turn them into culvert systems. What we're trying to do is take the worst of our bridges in our system and either replace or get rid of them from our inventory completely by doing away with the bridge and putting in a culvert system, or getting the bridge off our inventory because it's not a pertinent bridge to our inventory or to our roadway system. The other documents that I sent you were the programming or project programming request. You'll see as I went through the bridge files, again, trying to pour over information to bring to you, the original project programming request listed the sufficiency rating at 50.2 and condition poor, and the bridge structurally deficient. Nothing has changed about this bridge. Again, we have bridges that are, their structural, or I'm sorry, their sufficiency ratings are lower than this bridge, but it's the combination of it and its structural deficiency that makes this bridge a priority selected by the engineers and our previous staff to replace. I also put in the inventory and appraisal for the 2022 inspection, and you'll notice the hand notes behind that were entered in. Concrete deck shows a lot of cracking, pitting with several patches. Shows age and wear from gravel roadway. Steel beams show light rust. Abutments, steel piers are in fair condition. And and then they noted it was scheduled for replacement. Again, we have bridges that are in our inventory that are rated lower, but their structural condition and the combination of their condition and their structural makeup don't make them the priority that this bridge is. The other concerns that I would bring to your attention are the funding mechanism, the cost of the bridge, the fact that as it was relet, it came down nearly 70,000 approximately in what our last portion would have been. But the replacement cost of this bridge, I don't believe the county can bear that whole cost. In the plans that we have to do away or get rid of the bridges on this inventory list, each bridge that we get rid of, we get per foot credit in these programs for our matching funds. Some of these bridges we would get $50,000 for because that's a base minimum. Other bridges, nearly $80,000. I believe it's important that we get those bridges off of that critical list. I believe it's important that we take care of that inventory, and this is the place to start with the most critical infrastructure that we have, in either deleting it, replacing it, or getting it off our inventory by putting in different systems that are cost effective but are not in poor repair and needing inspection on an annual basis. If you have any other information that you need about this request or this project, I'd be happy to answer them. But based on the engineering reports, the prior staff opinion, this staff's opinion, and the funding mechanism we have for it, I believe it's financially responsible, and I also believe this is a bridge that we need to replace because it's on that top priority list. We have plans for the other bridges, but this bridge, I believe we've got the funding mechanism and the plan in place for it. I just don't believe that we can self-fund this at a later date.
There's no other access to this area beyond that. When I was reading through the reports that you sent out, Sean, I noticed that, we do have a few residents across this bridge and things that way. It mentioned 10 cars per day on one of the reports on it, which I know seems like a low number. But some of that could be school bus traffic and things that way, since we have residents on the other side of this bridge.
There are residential and farm and agricultural sites on the other side. There is also a trust that has a office that's used for conservation issues on the other side of this, and I can't answer as to how many school activities or groups that they bring across to that conservation area. The average daily traffic I pulled from the engineering files, and that is done at that time, I think, just off the top of my head, it might have been a 2016 average daily traffic report. Now, could that have changed or lowered throughout the years as they've done that? Of course it could. The traffic would have been for what time or length of time that they estimated that crossing that roadway. But I believe the infrastructure, the plan we have for the infrastructure and the the inventory that we have makes this one of the critical items on our inventory that we need to deal with and get rid of. Unfortunately, deleting this bridge, like the culvert systems that we've requested and/or bridges that have no other access or have no other priorities, I don't believe this is one of those bridges that we can get rid of. We have to maintain access, and as long as we have to maintain access, the nature of this bridge, the condition of this bridge makes it a priority. And the reports that I've sent to you show what happens when these bridges fail.
Yeah, but is there any indication that the bridge is going to fail? Do we have a report saying you guys need to fix this within the next year, or it's going to be?
The only thing I have is that list that I sent you where the engineers put it on the priority list of those bridges that are critical.
Which is nationwide though, right? Or is maybe statewide? Is it statewide?
The list I gave you that was highlighted is strictly the top concerns and critical bridges that we have in our
Yeah, I
infrastructure.
know our area, but they're giving out.
But the type of bridge, yes, is nationwide.
And we have it posted for the tonnage that it will hold, the one we have.
It's posted for 8 tons. My other concern, obviously, and I don't know the ins and outs of this, but not only does the staff have a considerable amount of time, but you've got engineering firms and the state that has considerable amount of time in this project and the funding and reletting of this project. I don't know how it would place us in a position with other funding or grant projects if we denied the project. I do know that, like I said, this is one of those, and I don't have, other than this grant funding opportunity, I don't have another plan to mitigate, replace, or repair this bridge.
I would like to see us move forward with this, take advantage of the grant opportunity that we have, finish out the plan that's been in process for the past 4 years, the money that's been set aside in special road and bridge for this project specifically, and get this bridge off of our inventory.
Yeah, we spent 70 grand. I get that, but I just don't see how we're going to go there and put this bridge. It's supposedly priority now just because the state says so. But we have an engineer that says it's totally fine. The bridge is open. We drive across it every day. There's no concern with the lifespan of it right now, is there? I mean, if somebody drives across it, is it going to fall in?
I can't answer that, but what I can say is our engineer has identified it as on the short list of bridges that we have the largest concern. It is a priority. It is one of those key bridges in our inventory that, by its condition and its structural deficiencies, is a priority in that system. Are there others with lower ratings? Yes, there is, but their structural makeup don't make them the priority that this bridge is.
I'm with Danny on this one. I just can't see us spending that kind of money up there.
I mean,
I don't have a problem with that decision. I just wish we would have made it sooner.
Sometimes you gotta spend money to make sure that you're making the right decision. I mean, it's just like going out for bids, either do it or you don't. I mean, it's,
We
Just 'cause you go do
didn't
your
have to
duty.
purchase the right of way.
yeah, well,
And stuff.
back when that happened when did we purchase that? 2021?
3 last year.
Yeah, but if you'd have took the bid last time, you'd have been $70,000 off there, so who knows what could happen? I mean, they come down 70,000 pretty fast.
Okay.
The way I feel.
I mean, just because they come down 70,000 doesn't mean it's not gonna come back in a change order. That's,
Commissioners, if you would, because this is a 4-5 year project and it is on our list of priorities, I can't say without the background that I'm able to give you all of the details of the pertinency of this project. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if you would allow me to bring in our on-call engineer who put this as a priority and made that list, he could give the rest of the details before we make a final decision on it. I do believe the 4-year or better investment we've got in this and the repercussions of letting this twice and not accepting the final offer. I would like to hear from him and like to give you that information before final decision's made. But again, that's your decision if you want to hear from him.
yeah, I'd like to hear from him. I just don't feel like our plan's very sufficient. We're kind of all over the place. There's a grant, so we go apply for it, and then we stop everything else we're doing. We have gravel roads in this county that are ridiculous. I mean, bad. And I know what we're going to do. We're going to try to blame it on this flood and stuff that just happened. No, that's not it. There's occurring problems that caused this to happen. And here we are just chasing grants, trying to fix a bridge that ain't even, I mean, it isn't even structurally damaged or anything, and people are still driving across it every day. There's no life or death concern about it, but we're worried about that instead. It's just, I'm not in favor of it.
Well, we went through, like you said, about as bad a storm as there is, but I've got people that's called me this week. We turned reports in. We got maintainers drive by and the road still isn't bladed. So where is our problem? I mean, I've had more calls in your area and yours too, and mine, than I've ever had in my life of what happened this last week. Because, I mean,
I went out at personal meetings. One was with your brother. I sat there for hours.
where was we blading this week? Did you see it?
I wasn't in town.
Did you see blades running?
I had blades running in my district, yeah.
Are we pushing overtime on that? I guess let's talk about the bridge. I'm not in favor of it right now, but so I guess whatever you said you were going to do, have our online engineer come back in, talk about it. I'm just tired of chasing these grants and taking, concern off of bigger concerns like what we're just getting ready to talk about. So that's where I'm at.
I will reach out to him and see if I can schedule them in.
But I agree with you, Jim. I went over by Scott Road, over by John Bynton's, and right after that rain last week, and there was no ditches on each side of the road, and I got pictures. I was going to do a PowerPoint, but I couldn't figure it out. So,
I've even got pictures sent to me of tubes on Saturday that's washed clear out. We don't even have barricades on them.
yeah.
On Saturday.
Are we pushing? What's our plan on this, Sean? Are we pushing overtime? Are we asking overtime? Are we figuring this in? What are we doing?
Initially, we pushed Sunday and had operators and drivers and supervisors out from each district the day after the storm. I say the day after, but day after that Saturday storm. We went to barricade and open as many roadways as we could to make sure they were passable, and then barricade as many flood areas as we could at that time. We took the flood areas that were called in and the damage that was called in, and then we went to other areas, and the supervisors and maintainers drove their areas to look at those flood areas and the damage to try to either barricade the hazard or to remove trees or do other things that could open those roadways. Obviously, a lot of the roadways in the north area were still flooded, some of them in the southwest. But a lot of rock loss and damage in several areas, to include in your area where we lost a roadway with a road grader falling through the roadway on a culvert that was 10 foot round that gave way on the top.
Which I actually, so that's right next to my house, and I got underneath there and looked at that. I'm not an engineer. I'm just I assessed it, and that tube that had a cave in on top of it, it didn't look very structurally damaged from the inside. I mean, it looked like that. I have pictures of it. The rock, after it caved in, there was a void, and it caved in. And it pushed the sides of where the tubes met in the middle. But from what I could see, there's a hell of a log jam inside of it, and it looked like there used to be a metal grate or like a hog panel in front of that tube to keep cattle from going through it or whatever, that caused that thing to jam up, and then water just kind of looked like it was trying to go around the tube and caused a void, and then it fell in. Because have you looked underneath there?
Yes.
I mean, what do you think? I mean, the one next to it has a hell of a divot, and it's about to cave in, but
that tube was bypassed by water. As to whether it was a log jam or the fence that created it, I couldn't answer to that, but you're right, the tube was bypassed, then it became structurally deficient, and then when the grader passed over at the top of the tube, gave way, and the other tube is about to give way. Both of those tubes are 10 foot round, and we're working with our on-call engineer to find the best replacement, whether those are pre-made box or concrete sections, or whether it's culvert systems, or whether it's reclaimed steel pipe. We're trying to work with the engineer to determine the flow that we need to carry in that area, and then put in the most reasonable and reliable answer to repair that area.
so do we have, and this is where I think that a ditch crew would come in good to be able to check these culverts like that, make sure that log jams aren't happening and causing this. I mean, I'm just going to go back to that, but I mean, because we don't really have time. Our guys don't have time to go out there and check stuff like that all the time to make sure there ain't clog ups. I mean, are there supposed to be grates put on the end of those tubes? I mean, by law, can homeowners do that to keep the cows in? I mean, I know they have to keep cows in somehow, but putting it right over the front of the grate or the tube, causing log jams inside there to back up? I mean, do we have anything?
Anything put in our right of way, we have control of, but anything put in prior to the right of way, we wouldn't have control of. And obviously, if it's just hog panels or other things, when a log jam hits it, it's going to move. It's not going to hold its post.
I mean, leaves and everything else plugged them
No,
up
no,
this
I
time.
get it, I
I mean,
get
I
it.
cleaned out tubes around different places all over the county.
Do we have
Places I had.
do we have anybody that assesses this? Do we have anybody that goes around and takes a look at it?
The last assessment of those, full assessment or inventory of those, was 2016. When I came in, I asked our new foremans to ask the road graders to stop at each one of those and assess those. And I think you'll notice 1077, there were several other roadways that we had large culvert tubes that were bypassed. And you notice that we made multiple purchases of culverts that year and this previous year. And the reason being is because we're trying to identify those and get them replaced as they get bypassed or damaged. But have we done a complete assessment? No. And again, I understand the need for that assessment, but we haven't had the manpower in place in the shops to make just a priority of going and checking every culvert system.
Well, I mean, going and dumping 10 loads of a dump truck gravel on a road isn't going to save the problem or fix the problem. I just feel like we don't have a plan. We have to start with assessment and then get a plan and then execute it. And I don't think we are. All we're doing is we do a work order. We go out and dump 10 loads of gravel on a road that is washed away because of a certain reason. It's just going to go again. I mean, I don't feel like that we're taking care of issues here.
Well, it's just like Friday, and I can go through that. I come through town at 10:30, 2 maintainers sitting down there Friday at the shop. They leave. I called Sean. They leave at 11. I come back through town at 3 and they're back. So I mean, we wasn't very productive that day, I guess is what I'm saying. With the maintainers. And I mean, I can drive you all over this county and I'm sure you can too. There's lots of places we could have fixed the washouts. I'm not saying we had to blade everything, but there's lots of washouts that we did not fix.
Have you turned in tickets on those?
I've got one guy I called and he turned the ticket in. He calls me back Saturday and said the maintainer drove by and didn't do anything. That's what I got told Saturday evening. He probably called it in Monday or Tuesday. That's phone calls I got this week.
Okay.
I mean, that's a washout on the side of a road. It's over my muck boot. Somebody hits that, it's gonna rip the front of their car out.
Look at these. That's in your district there. And that's not even, that was taken Saturday and that's not even anything around it, any barricades or anything.
Where's it located at?
I don't know, the road would be south of the industrial park. In Lacey.
So it was where the water was over the road?
Could be. I don't know.
But I mean, just look right here, there's no ditch on either side of the road here, and
See this?
it went down the side of the road and it washed this culvert out. And I'm gonna go back to that idea I had about the ditch cleaning crew. I personally think, I don't know if that's the right way, but I think that's where we should start, try. When I started becoming a commissioner, our rock budget was 300,000. Now we're up over $1 million, and we're not doing anything about it. All we're doing is putting a Band-Aid on things. And I'm going to stick strong to the ditch cleaning crew. I think. How many miles of asphalt do we have in this county we maintain?
I couldn't answer that without pulling the records right off the top of my head.
Chip and seal's like 220 some. Right, because we're on a 10-year rotation. We're doing 22 miles a year.
Yeah,
If I'm correct in my
600
memory.
and some miles of gravel, probably 200 and some of the asphalt.
Yeah.
I think it's about right.
I still think that we should have a dump truck and an equipment trailer that can haul a skid steer and an excavator, and 2 guys, and they go around and do a mile section, and we let those people know that, hey, we're going to be, number one, checking your culverts, make sure it's all good and draining, and clean the ditches and fix the issues. We're not, throwing gravel on this stuff ain't going to fix it. So,
Well, I agree to some
I mean, I don't-
points that you're making, but I also understand that as they fix these areas, they are also going back and looking at those problems. We've pulled out quite a few culvert systems and replaced them, especially in the last 2 years that I've been here. As I said, we've
But
replaced more than in the years previous.
I'm not trying to take away from anything that we're doing. I know the guys are doing what they can with what they have, and that's not what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to take away, tell them they're not doing a good job or keeping up. They're doing what we're asking them to do, which is put a Band-Aid on things, and I don't think it's working. So when we do a culvert, when we do culverts, how many guys does it take to do that?
Takes a small crew, and I can't answer to how many I would have to assume that a driveway entrance is a lot different than the 2 10-footers we may even, depending on how we replace that system, we may even have to bring in a crane. So depending on the size of the project, I'm sure it changes. But I'm sure they have a truck driver, an equipment operator, a supervisor, and at least a couple of hands to move a culvert of any size.
So I just don't see why it wouldn't make sense to have a crew that was specifically designed that checked the drainage system that we have on each side of the road, check the bridges, do the brush clearing while they're there, and fix everything within that mile. I'll take an ass chewing from all the residents within a mile section. I don't care. I mean, we get it all the time anyway. So we let them know that hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to check your culverts. We're going to make sure everything. That's a start to me. I don't know where else we would start. I know it's going to take a long time, but right now, are we really doing anything? besides throwing
We
gravel on
can
it?
tell everybody to use the call system is what I'm saying, and I did this week, and then I get a call Saturday, and the maintainer drove by and didn't do anything.
I shared
I mean, is that, are we taking care of it there? I mean, I think we got a problem.
Well, I can't answer to that specific incident, but I can tell you that the maintainers that were at the shop, that the operators were out checking those areas and pickup trucks, because I was told they surveyed their areas before they took out the graders in order to repair the areas and move either log jams, fix the worst of the areas that could be worked on, and to prioritize their movements with those graders to try to get the best time and use of that equipment, rather than road grade it to just survey their area and do what they could. I believe the foremans do have a plan. I believe they are operating to try to maintain that plan. Yes, we've been overwhelmed with weather events. We're trying to go through and assess those roadways. They're taking photographs. The operators are of anything that they come along so that we can recoup those funds. They're taking photographs, sending those back in. There are operations that are going and working, and we are repairing some of the waterways as we find and locate them. I'm asking to include, I can think of one culvert that our mechanic in the south shop called me to, that he found. Anytime that we have anything apparent on top of the roadway, I ask him to get out and look. If you've got silting, if you've got rock loss, if you've got anything that would lead to a water problem below or indicate it, get out and check the culvert. And our mechanic drives by and finds one as well last year that we replaced. To speak of the crews that you're talking about, I've put the next line item I had was open positions. We've got one mechanic, a seasonal mower, and 2 operators that were down. We have been able, just recently last week, to get another person CDL qualified and get them through the new program in the testing for a CDL license.
That's where I'm at, but if we had a crew of 2 guys with the 2 pieces of machinery and a dump truck and an equipment trailer, they would be able to take care of a lot of things you're talking about right now, replacing a culvert when, in that mile section that's necessary, and doing the brush clearing. I mean, I think, is everybody not just jumping around are they overwhelmed with jumping around like frogs everywhere? I mean, I feel like they're just, I don't know. From an outsider looking in, I don't know what they got going on, but it seems like they're just kind of like having to be all over the place to please people through work orders. Is that not correct?
We jump from area to area to try to do those work orders, but I tell my foremans, as those work orders come in, those priorities are theirs. In their district, they could have a dozen work orders, but it is their job to prioritize those work orders and to get them done in a timely fashion, not the last one called in is the priority. Yes, they may pass by one issue to get to another, but they're working off the priority of that foreman, and that's why they've got boots on the ground, eyes on the roadway, and they are trying to accomplish it in a manner that keeps the roadways open, our critical infrastructure intact, and I've given them all the latitude that I can in taking those calls for service when they come in and making that priority list, because they are in that area. They see it each day. They know what they need to do, and they know the manpower they have and the equipment they have to do it.
So do we have a crew that's designated just for doing work order items?
No, work orders come in for each district and are sent to the foreman, and the foreman prioritizes where that work order fits in their list of priorities.
Who they're sending it to.
Correct.
Well, I think we could have drove down any road in Linn County this week and did some blading and fixed some spots. Would you say that was right?
I mean, I'm to a point where I'm opposed to just throwing gravel on it and blading it.
No, but I'm saying blading.
Oh, blading.
Smooth
Cut.
blades. We could have went down any road in Linn County. And bladed the bad spots out.
Yeah, I'm just tired of putting Band-Aids on things, and I'm not taking away from our crews at all. I know they're doing an amazing job for how we have everything orchestrated in these shops, but I just don't feel like it's working. We're not really doing anything to fix it. We're just throwing a Band-Aid on. We're throwing gravel on a road. I mean, 300 to $1 million in a year, and the time that I've been here as a commissioner is crazy. Yeah, it's going to cost us a little money, but in the end, it's going to save us a lot of money, in my opinion.
How much of that is due to the query selling 2 times and having 2 different operators from the original operator?
Do I?
Are we using more rock? Or are we just paying more for rock?
I think both, probably.
You figure that out pretty quick off the tonnage. You ought to be able to look and see what the tonnage is.
Right.
But the pictures that I have are pretty evident of what's going on. I mean, that's all gravel in the ditch. Or I guess it's not really a ditch. I mean, the size of our roads are our ditches.
The biggest damage we have across for this storm is rock loss countywide.
But why? But how come? I mean, why do we have rock loss? Because we don't have ditches, and then the water's running down it's not shedding off the road correctly and taking the rock with it, right?
I would agree with part of that, but I also agree our waterways were overwhelmed, and with ditches or not, even in some of these areas, we were going to take rock loss. We were going to take heavy rock loss in some
I
of them.
understand that, but I feel like that our waterways are always overwhelmed. So we don't do anything to fix it. I mean, this is a road after the rain. There's not a ditch on either side of the road, so it's in the middle of the road. Water is just running down the sides of the road as the ditch. It cuts its own ditch.
I saw several areas where tubes were plugged and water went down the roadway, or that there were fields or crops higher on both sides of the roadway and that there were no ditches in that area. There is
But we just
vast improvements to our system that needs to be made, but budget and manpower or equipment wise, it's going to be a gradual process, just like the clearing around Ungenhauer or 1100 in Snow Hill. We try to make those strides in those areas as they come up and make a difference in them in those projects. But we are limited to the number of operators and the funding mechanism that we have. Now, again, I take boots on the ground and the advice from those foremen because I trust their opinion. And my supervision or management style to them is to try to give them the things they need: equipment, fuel, manpower, training. And then, and only then, after they have the things they need, ask them to complete a job and to bring back that information. It is somewhat, and I understand your point, you're wanting to better the system and not degrade what their efforts have been, but it is very difficult for those operators to be shorthanded over the last several years, to be understaffed, and to operate in those areas with the budget that we have, and consistently hear, because we've taken some losses and we're going to take some more losses as far as retirees and people leaving, to consistently hear what they hear every Monday and to feel like no matter what they do or efforts they make, it's still going to be, crack the whip on Monday, and no matter how much they pull the cart, they're still going to get the whip.
Well, then
Not saying that that's your intention, but I want to make it perfectly clear. We're all in the same path trying to make it better.
Supervisors working the same shift. It's the hours. Is everybody go to work at 7:30 to 4? Is that the hours of the road crews? I mean, our new supervisor over there that's over them, or is he working the same shift as everybody?
I would have to check on hours for everyone because we have adjusted hours in certain areas or allowed the supervisors to adjust it. But I believe that shop or that supervisor and shop may be a half hour earlier than the other shop.
Why do we not work everybody the same schedule?
We've had that shop on a different schedule for asphalt, and I can't answer when we moved it over and opened it up.
On asphalt, we went through the overlay takes 10 days or so, maybe 15. So, I mean, why do we work the early shift all winter long, I guess is my question.
I'll have to bring that back to you because, again,
I think we'd be better off if everybody worked the same shift. Would you guys think, or hours?
Yeah.
If we're on the same, working for the same purpose, I think it'd be better if our supervisors and everybody worked the same hours, wouldn't it?
I think so. All right, so, and I'm gonna jump to asphalt. So when asphalt's going on, I mean, we take guys that are driving dump trucks and graders and we take them in to help with asphalt, correct?
chip and seal,
Chip
yes.
seals from
Asphalt
holding
contracted,
signs
chip
to-
and seal is what we do, yes.
From holding signs to doing anything, right? I mean, is that what they do?
We pull from every department in the road division, is my understanding, because we use them for flaggers and we use them for drivers and we use them for operators.
We was told just the other day, Danny, that's 15 days a year. We was done with that, so.
So but we could be paying someone $21 an hour to hold a sign. I mean, is that? I mean, when you have them go do other tasks, do their pay get adjusted for? holding
No.
a sign compared to?
No, there's no difference in paid based on assignment.
I don't know. I'm still on the side of asphalt things. I think that we could contract it out and we could have accountability and a warranty, and we could focus on other issues in the county, such as gravel roads.
Okay.
I just feel like that we're putting Band-Aids on things and nothing's getting done. And it's not the shop's fault. I understand that. They're just trying to knock things out as they come in and do their daily task at the same time. I get that. I'm not taking away from them. So if you're listening, that's not what I'm saying.
No, I believe what you're saying is you're not arguing that we're
crazy. And
that our mechanism is the failure, not the employee.
we are barely holding on, and we don't have no plan. So that's what I want to do. I want to put a plan together. I want to, if it's, in the ditch crew thing, I don't know if that's the best thing. I don't know, but it's a start. I mean, we gave a lot of farmers a lot of rock last week.
You know what?
I said, we gave a lot of farmers a lot of rock.
Are we ready for the next item?
I don't think so. I mean, what do you guys want to do? We talk about this all the time. Let's get something pinpointed. Let's get a starting point, or tell me to screw off, one of the two. I mean, what's the point of putting gravel on a road that's not ready for gravel?
Would it make more sense at this point to schedule a workshop with Public Works where you guys talk about all these issues?
We just had one, 2 months ago?
I mean, you're not going to get anything done in the meeting today if that's all you talk about.
Until 5 o'clock.
Is that what you'd like to do?
What?
Bring in our public works directors, talk about the problems? Can we set up an agenda to have for the meeting? The specific things that we want to talk about?
Did we not just have one though?
think we did.
I mean, what, a month
This,
ago?
this, like I go back to, I could not, we could have took in blades Friday, the 2.5 hours or whatever it was, and been on any road and bladed for 2.5 hours. And I seen it sitting in the shop. I do. Whether we went out in the truck or whatever we did, it's, could we not took the blade out there on any road and bladed some? Do you think in Linn County? I drive a lot of gravel roads. I can show you. I drove them from one end of this county to the other. I seen 2 places where graders graded in the roads I drove.
Okay.
2 places. And I drove all week.
How do we fix it?
Not just talk about it, do something.
We've got to hold somebody accountable to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
And I think that's our 3 jobs right here. I don't like what I've seen, and I'm sure the people that called me this week didn't like what they seen. And I had lots of phone calls. You didn't about roads?
I did not.
You didn't. Okay.
I did.
Well, maybe that's all in your area working. I don't know. I got phone calls from your area.
Okay. That's fine.
I'm just saying I did.
Well, I believe, as I said, the shop foreman sent the operators for those equipments out to check their areas to make a priority of their time and the usage of that equipment. I don't know that just driving around in that and accomplishing a task on another road when it wasn't the priority or it was already open and we needed to make sure roads were passable before the weekend storms, which thankfully we didn't get everything we were scheduled for this weekend, but I believe they were trying to prioritize their time and make their efforts more useful and target the areas that needed to be made passable.
So are we? I don't know. I talk and just, I don't know what you guys want to do. You know where I'm at. I want to have accountability, have a crew that is designated for work orders and ditches and all that, instead of pulling people off of their daily tasks to go do that, which just puts us behind. And
Well, I think cleaning ditches out is their daily task.
I mean, like,
I think there's areas they can clean ditches out. I mean, all winter long, Danny, we went a lot of ground that was farm ground that the ditches could have been cleaned out of because it was dry, and we didn't do a lot of work
and I agree. We
all winter long.
I'm opposed to putting gravel back on these roads until the issue is fixed. I know we have to make them passable, but out by my house where we put gravel down, I got over so some wedding goers could get by me, and my truck sunk in the new gravel. I mean, it sunk to the axle almost. I had to put it in full drive to get out. I just don't think that our base of the roads is correct right now to put gravel on it, and I'm opposed to putting gravel on it. I'd like to, if I see a grader out, I'd like to see a grader cutting a road, cutting the side of the ditch, and getting it ready before we put gravel on it. I got a call last week, asked me why, and I texted you, Sean, why my grader didn't have the or the blade on the ground. I didn't have an answer. I wasn't in town, but I sure heard about it and told me how I was wasting tax dollars and this and that, and that's when I texted you about it. Just spreading gravel is not the answer, obviously. So I don't want any of the road and bridge guys to think I'm trying to take anything away from them or tell them they're not doing their job, or they're doing what we ask them.
That's correct.
I appreciate that. They work hard. I get that.
And if what we ask them needs to change, it has to come from in here.
I agree. I think that's where we have to put together a plan and execute it.
And
But
how
we
do we
got
do
told
that
just
without them?
in our last workshop, Danny, we got told that you don't clean ditches till summer. Right here in room, we got told that you don't clean the ditches out till summertime.
Well, I know that excavator, them 2 excavators we bought will do it any time of the year.
We got told that right here in this meeting, sitting right here. But we can't clean them out till summer.
Well, it's almost summer. Let's bring them in. Let's find out what their plan is, and
I think that's wrong. I think that's a wrong attitude to have. We had the best winter there was. The best to clean ditches.
So during this emergency time, whatever you want to call it, that we're keeping track for, are we allowing overtime? Are we pushing overtime? Are we letting them know that, I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Should we be? I mean, it's an emergency, right?
Well, it isn't anything about allowing it, isn't it? I mean, if it's requested, whether it's a snowstorm or whatever it is, isn't it something we requested?
If the foremans deem it necessary to have overtime to finish projects, yes, they're gonna get overtime. I don't believe the last several days or work days that overtime may have been the most productive thing. If it's too wet, it's too wet. If roads are still underwater, they're still underwater. I believe we're coming into a time after the rains this week that would be more appropriate to spend those man hours and to recoup the losses that we have taken as far as our roadways when it's more productive to keep those operators out. But to answer your question, we initially had the response afterwards. I believe we're looking at high winds tonight with the water that we've taken and the exposed tree systems along our roadways and areas. We expect to have crews out tonight clearing roadways and tree damage.
So what are they, I mean, on a day like today, it's really wet. What are they, I mean, is there a skid steer? They got skid steers out on these roads fixing bad spots? I mean, why,
I talked to both foremans, or actually all 3 this morning. All 3 had different plans in their areas. One area is working on potholes, trying to recoup or clear roadways to get them passable because of the potholes that have been washed out in it. I can't remember what, one foreman obviously is restricted to just administrative duties, but he's got graders out in his area. He was also working on getting us photographs, working to get the information we requested so that we can request those funds to be recouped later. The other foreman came down. I didn't have a chance to fully go through everything with him this morning before the meeting, but all 3 had operators out this morning. All 3 had a plan in their area, and all 3 were working in their area to accomplish what they could before the weather comes in again.
I mean, this is the water route down the road. I mean, there's a lot of ditches in the middle of a road.
What I think some of the disconnect that we have is that I'm not an operator. I can relay things to you. I can tell you what I've been told. But again, remember when you talk about specifics of what those areas need or
I know this area right
what we're doing.
There's no ditch because I can see the gravel and the no water drainage going anywhere. That's the things that I don't see. Like we don't have and I know that's pretty wet, but we're just, I mean, there's our ditch on the side of our road. Whatever we're doing right now, I don't think it's working. I mean, that's gravel over on someone's fence. Obviously no ditch. Coming down off of a hill.
I don't know what area that is, but I can tell you 300 near Ferris, I think it is, that there was total rock loss in that area.
Well, this is That's me standing it with some muck boots. So that's an 8-inch trench. That's not, the water's running down the middle of the road. That's the ditch, is in the middle of our road. Going across our road.
I saw several cut out just like that.
That's what I say, just like Friday, that we could have been fixing, driving down the road and fix some of them, cut at least smooth them out. Instead of taking trucks, we could have used blades. That's what I say. I don't think there would have been a mile of road that I couldn't have went down that I couldn't have used a grader on somewhere.
It's like we're asking.
We spend 3 hours in pickups or whatever we was. I mean, I don't know. I don't think we're utilizing what we're doing. I mean, I don't know where it's falling apart, but it's, we take trucks out for 3 hours and come back and use the graders for 3. And then we're back in here at 3:00. That's not very much productivity out of 8 hours, the way I look at it. But, and I seen a lot of roads that could have been bladed that day. Because I drive a lot of them.
But I just believe whatever we're doing right now is not the best way. So I would like to come up with and you guys already heard me about the ditch crew. I think that's really important. It's a start anyway. It's going to take a long time. Hell, I don't even know if that is the way, but right now throwing gravel on a road that's not ready for it isn't the way either. So, but we do that. Oh, and then the foremen and the workers get irritated because I guess they feel like we're telling them they're not doing their job, which is not what I'm saying. I feel like we have them bouncing around hardcore and it's unfair to them.
Well, but Danny, we have said we want the ditches cleaned out, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've bought equipment for it, right?
Right.
So are we not saying that?
You know, I don't know. Do
We spent how much on track hose? We could go back and look at the hours we put on them, I guess. How many months have we owned them?
Sure. I know
That's one way to look at it. See how much are we using the equipment?
so where we go or don't go. What do you think?
I think we need to support our guys.
I'm not any way not supporting our guys.
How are we not supporting them, Jason? We're asking the ditches to be cleaned out, right?
Right? But what I'm saying is that we work with them on trying to come up with how this is going to work.
Well, we did work with them. We asked them, but the plan that we have right now is not working. So that falls on us. You know, I get phone calls just like Jim does. I mean, I get stuff asking, is our grader broke down? Did we sell it? Like, crap, like, you want to go to the mud run? I'm like, what? On Scott Road, you want to go with me? Just driving home. I'm like, that's the kind of text I get.
Okay.
Which is fine. I mean, I like a little sense of humor in my life, but
We bought the scratchers for the front of them to take we put that on every one of them.
We did.
I didn't see anywhere that they was used last week. Not one place that I see that they was used. Not one.
They were delivered. To my understanding, I saw them sitting on the ground last week at the shops being put on the equipment. Obviously we bought them, but it took a while to get delivery on them. And that is, from what I understand, the South Shop foreman, that's what they were doing today. Were taking those and pulling up potholes.
All I'm saying is I'm not an equipment operator. I'm not going to be able to direct them on what they should be doing.
That's not your job to direct it, where the work's done. It isn't your job.
I understand. I'm just saying that if we're going to make a plan, we're going to need to involve them in the plan.
But last time we had them in here, did they tell us their plan?
You say that, Jason, but our plan is to get the dishes cleaned out, right? And that's what we've asked.
Okay.
That's our plan. So, I mean, it isn't really about what they're wanting. We're wanting the dishes cleaned. So I guess that's the direction we should be working.
Okay.
Instead of waiting and telling operators to wait till summertime to clean ditches out. I've been told that too.
Okay.
By operators. That's not my plan. Is it your plan to wait till summer?
Not my
Is it
plan
your,
either.
Danny? So where's the breakdown, I guess, is where it's at. Have we been pretty vocal about what we wanted?
Yes, I think so.
I don't think we're getting it, are we? I don't feel we are. I think, I'll tell you what, from what I've heard this week, I'll tell you, and there's a lot of people in this county that don't like what we're doing.
I agree.
Lots.
I agree. I went around over the weekend with my kids and told
Every place I was at this week, I heard about it and on the phone too. And I'm not mad at them because I agree with them. We're not doing it. I don't know why we're not getting it done, but it's not getting done.
So what's the next step?
We've got an issue somewhere and a breakdown on what we're telling to the next people, what we're wanting. Our communication isn't getting through, I feel. And just like Danny says, we go dump gravel on a place in the road where there's no ditch, and the next rainstorm, it's right down the ditch is down the middle of the road and all of our gravel's gone.
I mean, that's out in a guy's field.
I had a guy call me and ask me if it was okay if he shoved the gravel out of his field back up on the road.
I would have put it in
I said, I guess you can put it where you want it. I said, if it's our gravel and you don't like it in your field, get it out.
All right, we're approaching 10:30 when we have Evergy on the agenda. Do we want to take a quick recess and allow them to set up and then get back into this?
as long as we get back into it.
Okay.
You want to take a recess for 4 minutes or whatever it is?
I move that we recess the Board of County Commissioners till 10:33 to set up the PowerPoint presentation for Evergy.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to recess for 5 minutes and return at 10:33. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Basically, get quick parliamentary procedure stuff. Are you familiar with them? Did you?
How are you? Nice to meet you, Robert.
Georgia.
Pardon me?
Maybe
Kyle, nice to meet you, Kyle.
Happy to have
give you some good.
I appreciate it.
No, that's not like
Usually air tank to that works. You got an air tank? Like we have a USB. Quick shares. No. Sure. Sorry, Mark.
How are you, Robert?
Good. Someone's already got it set up. I can email it to you.
I do.
Did you turn it on? Um, do you have airtime on here?
I do not.
Okay.
I can. Yeah. Let's
Okay,
see.
and if you sign into the Linn County Public,
Okay.
and our password is Linn County, all lowercase. And then you should be able to go from there if you want to run it yourself.
Okay.
If not, you can email it to me and I can pull it up online. Let's go.
Hey, Danny, do you think we could get some?
Give it a second. Failed to connect. Okay, so it's what's the login on the non-guest side? Linn County as well. So try to use it.
Robert?
What's
Danny, nice to meet you.
Linn County and then Linn County?
I think so.
Whoever's office space this is trashy. I said, whoever's office space this is trashy.
Not very secure, but you can see. Nope.
You can hook them on hotspot.
Yeah, but it's wanting to use the same
You got
Wi-Fi.
TV on the same time.
Danny, but that's a great idea, like, if we were working with, like, not that person, like, what if we did, like, flyers and things, like, what was trying to start out, Jessica, we could send out things that are happening in county.
I can
On the regular one, Joyce says you have to have a, like our username, you've got to be.
You gotta use your,
Yeah.
okay,
I can just see.
okay. Just do that.
Stamp.
Yes.
I'm really the one that got, but I see the comment.
You're talking to me, talking.
You streamed to that, haven't you?
What's your guys' land management guy's name? Yeah, Jim.
They thought I should put that, but all of my head, no, you don't want me to.
All right, Jason.
annual assistant principal who was.
Okay, well, what's it?
Lunchtime meeting.
There's like a code, isn't there?
WMAJH.
No. It's like a 1-0. God damn it. Can you turn it off and turn it back on?
Yeah.
Barb, enjoy that coffee. It's good for you.
It's not really gonna matter one way or another. I mean, if you don't want to, don't.
I called you last week, you didn't answer.
You're on the wireless display, so that should be the right connection.
And it's asking for a name or IP address.
So
Commission room.
Input.
I tried to put that in.
There, it just popped up with a new code.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sending it to you right now.
Proposals to illegal engineering, so. Right. But just prior to your.
It should.
Okay. Go ahead and introduce yourself if you would, please.
Absolutely. So my name is Kyle Lewis. I'm the Director of Operations at Lacine Generating Station. Been at Lacine for 20 years. Brought with me Robert Hollinsworth, the Plant Manager of Lacine Generating Station. Thank you very much for your time and willingness to let us come and present to you today. And then this gentleman wanted to say a quick word.
Commissioners, I understand we're going to be talking about some bridges and they fall into our overall scheme and program for our bridge program. So it's my understanding that during and after our discussion that we're going to need some engineering and maybe some legal background on this. So I'd like to take in the information that's given to us today, pull in information from our presenters today, and then bring it back to you with that engineering and legal background without any further decisions other than informational and education for today. Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, I wanted to come and present to the commissioners today just to start a dialogue. We're not expecting any decision. We're not expecting anything other than just an open discussion so we can present some potential options, and then we're an open book. Whatever the commissioners need, whatever you need, we're welcome and happy to present. So I wanted to talk a little bit. So Lacine Generating Station owns 2 bridges. We own a bridge on 2200 Road that goes across the dam, and our spillway underneath it with the Tanner gates for lake level control are underneath this bridge. We also own a bridge on Yancey Road, just east of the power plant on that north to south road going north from 2200 Road. Few years back, that bridge was put in to create a rail loop where the train can go underneath, and people didn't have to take that long jog around the train when one was sitting there. So I want to talk a little bit about the history and of the structures themselves. So this is the bridge across 2200 Road. The bridge and the spillway plans were issued for bid in 1969. We require some access underneath it. That's how we control the lake level. So we have a pretty robust process on inflows and different things, and we're controlling the lake level by accessing underneath the spillway bridge. We put in the dam piers and abutments, and we utilize the spillway substructure as the bridge support for the superstructure. And at any time, please stop me and ask whatever question you'd like. This is just a graphical representation of where that bridge is. We own the bridge. It was never turned over to the county. It's a private bridge is what it's considered currently. The structure itself requires that Evergy permit any loads that go across that bridge that are overweight. So we're going to have to get an engineering analysis. You can't call KDOT and get a permit for a private bridge. We would have to permit that if loads were to go across it that exceeded the rating of the bridge. Okay, and here's some just generic history on this structure itself. In 2007, we contracted with Clarkson to repair the bridge deck. We replaced some expansion joints. We did traffic control over the bridge, all that stuff. We also have kept up all the inspections on this bridge. Since 2012, formerly KCPL, now Evergy, has participated in the NBI, or the National Bridge Inventory, and we have a certain set of bridge inspection standards that we have to maintain. That is a fracture critical bridge, so we do the snooper inspection every 2 years. We've always done it. We pay for it. We contract out with a third-party engineering firm for that work. And then we report the results to KDOT for that bridge. This is just kind of some background and one of the reasons that we're here talking to you. In 2017, the requirement for privately owned bridges was removed. Then in 2020, privately owned bridges to be included in the National Bridge Inventory, sorry. Then in 2023, they reinstated that requirement. We also, in 2023, KDOT added, in addition to the National Bridge Inventory and National Bridge Inspection Standards requirement, an MOA is required for privately owned bridges. And I believe you guys saw that at a prior meeting.
That's correct.
KDOT spoke with us saying that privately owned bridges on the county road are subject to the same rules, which makes sense. A written agreement between the bridge owner and the county describing ownership and responsibilities is to be completed by June of this year. we have one ready. In '23, we contracted with a local engineering company, PEC, to load rate, do the routine and fracture critical inspection, and report the results to KDOT's inspection reportal. And I'll show this as well. The load rating is going to require us to post this bridge. Now you'll notice there on the, there's a couple different options for posting. We are going to take the top right, the 27 ton, 43 ton for a semi 18 wheeler, and then a 2 trailer semi, or 27 tons on a single axle. This load rating, and we have copies of that for anyone that would like to see it, is 2-lane traffic. So, 43 ton, that's over 80,000 pounds, but it is 2-lane traffic load rated. So technically, 86 ton would be the load rating on the bridge. And there's different standards that the load rating itself walks through that we can share. In addition, I wanted to talk about Young's Road Bridge. So there's a picture of the bridge. Like I said, it's basically a overpass, so folks don't have to take the big bypass loop around a train when the train is sitting there. I've got a copy of the inventory and appraisal. That bridge has a clean bill of health, no load required, no posting requirement on that bridge. And then a copy of the load rating itself. And all this is available along with the actual reports. We can supply at any time. So a little history. The structure was constructed in 2010 and 2011. We modified the structure in 2011 to square it up. It was a skewed arch design. We ended up squaring up that arch design so there wasn't that skew in it. And then we've done all the maintenance to it. We just completed some concrete for the approach, curb, shoulder, and drainage. The reason I bring this up is we wanted to discuss the potential at another time if the county would be willing to take the bridges. We're obviously a utility company. We own private bridges connected to county roads. What's a little weird for us. There's, liability and other things are concerned. We understand that we've been maintaining the bridges and we will continue to, depending on what agreement, if any, we can come up with. But we wanted to present this to you for options. And we can have further dialogue. You can ask whatever questions you need. We can provide engineering analysis of the bridges, but this was, we wanted to present on what we were looking at currently.
So the thing to do to start would be what Sean recommended, correct? Get the engineering, get our engineers involved, have them work through him.
I would think the first thing we'd need is the engineering reports over to our on-call engineer to make assessments and any recommendations on the bridges. And then we'd also need, to my understanding, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, we would need a boilerplate proposal to begin with so that we could look at the legal aspects and the engineering aspects together of what we're being asked to do.
Yes, sir. I would have a question. Has Evergy done any preliminary work from the legal perspective on transferring this or basically vacating your easement there and turning it over to the county?
Nothing further than discussion.
Okay.
Is it something we're willing to entertain?
I think so. I think it's something we should all talk about.
Tim?
Talk about it.
I'll leave it up to the commission for next steps. We can and will supply anything that you request. I gave all three commissioners my business card. If you can call me, email me, you can pass it along to this gentleman that could ask for any reports that we have, and we will start that dialogue, pass information back and forth, however you see fit.
Okay. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it.
All right?
So
Thank you.
we should direct Sean to begin asking for that information? Is that our first step?
So, yeah.
Yep. Okay. You guys are okay with that? All right.
Okay.
That's
Thank
what
you.
we'll do. Sean West, our Public Works Administrator, will be in contact with you to start getting those files so we can send them on and begin having these discussions.
I will pass my business card to you before I leave.
My cards and trade out with you.
Okay.
I'm back in here with the commissioners.
So,
Thank you all for your time.
thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Robert.
Where would you like to take up?
So we never got anywhere on what we're gonna do with our direction on the roads.
We've already brought the foremans in. I think the most productive thing at this point would be for me to bring the foremans in, spell out their plan in writing to you as the commissioners, direct that plan to you, and give you time to make any changes, adjustments, recommendations to a written plan, and go from there. That way we keep the foremans out on the roadways and being productive, and we just let the staff put this all in writing to you, turn it into you, and you give direction from there. I don't believe bringing them in and having a discussion without a direction is going to accomplish a whole lot.
Okay. Is that acceptable?
What are they gonna bring to us in writing?
I would like to meet with them individually and come up with their plan for the roadway repairs, maintenance, and waterways, hand it over to you. That way you can review it and we can all be on the same page and you can give direction from there. Basically take their plan, put it in writing, and then hand it over to you so that we can have a productive discussion on it.
And their plan is going to include how they're going to go about fixing the issues that are outstanding?
Correct.
The plan will state how they're gonna start cleaning ditches, I guess, is what, that's our,
It should be an overall roadway repair plan for their district.
Okay. When will we have that by?
Based on what we currently have on schedule, I believe we can probably meet with them individually over the next week or so, put it together in another week. So give me a couple weeks down the roadway and I should be able to have something to you.
Why do we need an individual plan, I guess is my idea. If we're wanting ditches cleaned, why do we need an individual plan from each supervisor? Because it's gonna be a countywide plan, right?
Should be.
I feel like we already know the plan and it's not working. I think it's time for us to step in and we have expectations. We tell them what we want and we go that route. And if then we can, then I'll take an ass chewing from people. 'Cause right now I'm taking ass chewing. I have no idea how our county barns are running. We're just putting Band-Aids on things. And if I'm going to get an ass chewing, it better be my fault. And right now, I guess it is my fault because at the end of the day, we have to be accountable for it. But we're not making any decisions based on anything. We're just rolling with it.
I agree that we're not making any decisions.
I feel that we've stated it multiple times. I mean, we bought 2 Tricos. I think we've stated what we wanted. Do you feel we have?
I do.
It isn't happening.
I believe since the purchase of those and the last 6 months or better that I've been a track with some of their projects, we have done ditching projects as well as done roadway projects as well. Has there been an overall ditch program in the county or an emphasis on ditching across the board to improve waterways and putting funding towards those? No. We've done it as we've come along the problems, and we've done it as we repaired other issues or worked on other projects in that area.
But I just feel like if we tried to put a plan together to get in front of the issues, we'll be better off. I mean, why wait until there's an issue? I think we should do sections at a time and then have the ditch crew. They do sections at a time. They make sure they start square one. They do the brush, then they do the assessment of the ditch and they clean the ditch. They make sure all the culverts are good. They make sure that everything's perfect. The site of right of way or whatever is all perfect. And then they move on to the next section. That's a start. And then I can tell people when they call me, what are you doing about this? Well, I don't know, throwing some gravel on the road. That doesn't work.
Are you saying hire a ditch crew or pull from the shops that we have?
I think we have 7 blade operators that can be cleaning ditches.
I don't think that we necessarily should hire anybody. We pull all these people off to go do asphalt.
We have blade operators and we have dump truck operators. I mean, and whether we're hauling rock or hauling dirt. And I don't think we need to be, like what you're saying, I don't think we need to be hauling rock quite as much until we get the road back.
Yeah, I think that,
I think personally, it's utilizing the manpower we have is what I think we've got. We've got it, but we're not utilizing it to the fullest extent. Is what I think.
and I think I really think a 2-man crew would be sufficient. A guy driving the dump truck to get rid of the dirt, put it on other farmers, whatever. And when he's not doing that and being a skid steer and have both that and excavator right there, they get everything knocked out and they move on we have that in each one of our districts. And we move them around I guess we start at the worst and let all the homeowners know what we're going to do. And
So they were working on, the foremans were working on a kind of a map, were they not, of what was, where we were okay, where we were not okay, and where we were in bad shape? Have we finalized anything from that perspective?
As far as the roadway conditions in each one of their districts to build an overall county map
Yes.
The ditches is what we asked for. The ditches.
in the ditches?
Categorize it at what the worst of the.
We haven't accomplished that.
No.
And I think we're out of time to do that. We don't have time to do an engineering report. Let's just get it done.
We weren't asking for an engineering report.
Well, I know, but
We were
I'm just
asking
being a
for
smart
the
ass.
road foremans to get with their grader operators and
Well, it didn't even have to be the road foremen, so the grader operators, that they know what the ditches look like. I mean, if they drive them and they can map it out pretty quick.
I just think a crew like that going around and then beyond the ditches, they could check the waterways, make sure signs, and I just feel like that we could be knocking a lot of things out.
Is the culverts, could that be part of the sign guy's job?
Yeah, I think so. I think we talked about that here a few years ago, didn't we?
Well, I'm just saying, what, could it be his responsibility to go and check all the culverts too?
I mean, I would think it would be, and then to weed eat around them and stuff too. I know our noxious weed people, they do that too, but I think the sign guy that should be part of his job too, weeding around, bridges and signs and checking them. I don't know. I mean, I think that's where I think it's time for us to sit down and we make.
Who does the sign guy, who's the sign guy's boss? The sign man? Who's the answer to?
Me.
What, and if he's not doing signs, he's doing the CDL.
Signs, CDL, and then special projects with the lift truck. Trees and other things that come along for service request.
I mean, how many hours a week does the signs take?
I'd have to look at those reports, but between the signs, the CDL, and any tree work that we have, pushing it back until we're available, you could keep one guy fairly busy. Now, pulling those reports and seeing how much we spend on each one individually, I couldn't give you those numbers right off the hand, but
I'm just trying to figure out if it's a half job or a full-time job. What our turnover rate, I mean, I don't know, I don't even know where to start.
well, your turnover rate in other counties, from what I'm meeting with the directors, in other counties, they are amping up their payroll or trying to push for more payroll for CDL operators.
Well, I get that. And then we have lower pay and we have them running around with their heads chopped off because we're not giving them any direction from us.
Well, and
They're all getting ready to retire.
And-
It's just a shit show.
some of our staff is retired and some will retire in the future. But we're trying to recover those losses by training them. And we've been able to train several where, speaking to other department heads and other directors in our area, they've struggled with the same numbers problem, but their answer to it is throw more money at it. Since I've been here, our budget hasn't increased. It took a slight decrease this last year. But this is at the same time road rock and fuel and everything is increased. So if you're telling me to prioritize the funding for these things and for the manpower towards these projects, I can put it together. But again, we can be focused on being chewed out for the condition, or we can
Listen,
look
I'm not
for the
chewing anybody
funding.
out.
I'm
not chewing anybody out.
Oh.
I'm not taking away from you guys. You guys are doing what we're allowing you guys to do.
I'm
giving you the funding for it. But what I'm saying is the program's broke. We have guys that come here to this county to retire, not to do anything else. Am I correct? I mean, majority of the people that come back here to retire and for retirement or for the benefits, and then they're done. Then we got to replace them, right? Do you guys get that? Do you guys feel that is? Okay, so is our assistant foremans in each shop ready to step up to that foreman position? Is that how we have it structured?
we've got assistant foremans in 2 shops of the 3.
But are they ready to step up? Is that their goal to become the foreman of that shop?
That would be the goal for each one of them, with the exception of I've asked for a mechanic and I've put it on the list in our south shop because our assistant is currently assigned as a mechanic and can't be out on the road all the time because he's in the shop. And that's why I want to move him out to an operator position so he can be out with that foreman looking at those projects. But yes, that is the overall
I
goal.
guess where I'm just getting at is I think that it's time for us to step in and we just redo this entire operation. How we want, because right now it's not working. I'm not taking that away from them. So don't think I am. And
No, I'm the only reason I brought funding is because if we focus on the project as a whole, it may increase where we're at. And and that funding mechanism that we need to complete what we're talking about, we need to take a careful look at it, because I know how much the three of you are under the gun each year when that budget season comes around, and our department is a large part of that budget. I don't want to shift focus from one problem to another by trying to throw money in it. That's why we've tried to implement things like the CDL program to bring people in rather than bring up salaries in areas and try to compete that way. We've tried to compete without the cost. I'm trying to get to the same place you're trying to get to. I'm just also worried that if we do it too fast, that will bring up the need for funding. And the other departments that I've talked to, throwing more money at it hasn't solved the problem either. They've brought money up, increased salaries, and all it does is competitively, everybody they compete with moves their target goals as well, and they end up losing the same amount of people to those other areas. So I do agree we need to be mission focused on this, but I also don't want to give up those things that we're doing that bring one or two people a year to us the way we're doing it, because the other departments, I don't see them getting any more people by throwing more money at it.
So when we hire people, we need a seasonal mower. So when we hire them, that's what they're expected to do. A grader operator, that's what they're expected to do. But we keep pulling them out and pushing them around. That's got to be something. I mean, if we stop doing that, people will probably be a little more happy about their job, don't you think?
I think we pull them for special projects. I think one of the big things you as a commission did here real recently was hire a moving company to move the second floor down to the new building, which typically in the past, that would have been those operators that are the key focus to all these roadway issues. They would have been in there moving that and spending their day doing that. And I think that was huge. It wasn't a lot of money that we spent. It wasn't unreasonable that we did it. But you're right. We're going to take operators for the Lagoon project. We're going to take operators for other projects that are not necessarily road projects, but we take them to cut cost and bring down the cost of some of the things that we can't control the contracting price on.
And I think a lot of this could be talked about during budget, and it's not. And that's just a whole nother subject. But so that's where I'm at. I think that we have to reorganize everything, starting with us, because none of us know exactly how everything operates in the shops, and we take accountability for it. I mean, am I correct? I mean, if something's not running right, who gets the call? It's us.
Well, I think we've passed it on that we want the ditches cleaned up, Danny. I do. I think we've passed it on multiple times. In the last year and a half, we've talked it.
Yeah, I think it's been longer than that. But yeah, I mean, I think.
But I mean, sure, the last year
I
and a
don't know
half.
if that's the correct way, but I think that's a good start. And that's where, I mean.
And I personally have not seen where grader operators have taken on very many ditch cleanings, where they just go clean it out. I can go back to the southwest corner of this county a few years ago that was cleaned. A lot of them was cleaned out by a grader operator.
I mean, didn't we have buckets that were made for the excavator for the ditches, or was that the old? Or was that the
No,
old Stairs?
my understanding, and don't quote me on the length or size, but I think we bought 60-inch ditch buckets for those things.
I thought we did too.
Yeah, something.
But you also got to understand that piece of equipment is going to be used for culvert installations,
Which can be taken
Tree-
during the.
tree removal, and other things. So it's a multi-purpose tool.
I get that. I want that to be. We'll call it the ditch clearing crew. But I mean, I think that it's their job to start at square one, which would be checking the culverts. They're bad, then they get a new culvert, right? I mean, and we do the drainage, and then we do brush cleaning, and we assess everything, and we be done, and we move on. In the meantime, if there's something that's emergency, they go do the work order, not pull graders and whatever. I mean, however we do it. I mean, it goes to them, and then if they can't pull it themselves, then they send it on up to their foreman and figure it out. I don't know, but whatever we're doing is not working. And I don't want to keep kicking the can down the road. I think it's time to do something. The roads are horrible right now, and now it's time to start cutting them instead of just throwing gravel on them, if that's what we're going to do. What do you think, Jason?
I still think we need to be talking with our foremen.
We talk too much and we have too many excuses. Let's do something.
What would
That's
you
all
like
I
to
ever
do,
hear.
Danny?
Not
Give me a
talk,
plan.
not talk. I just gave you my plan. Put something into action. If it doesn't work, I will say, that sucked, it didn't work. I'm
Well, let's request some ditches to be cleaned out then. Let's give them 30 days and see what, that's,
How many miles?
a section.
4 miles?
I think we do a section at a time and we focus on that.
Throughout the county, let's look at 4 miles and let's give them 30 days and
So,
see what we got.
so you guys want to do one crew right now, and then if it seems to be working really well, then we can go to one crew.
We have two crews with
That's true.
track hose and we have 7 graders.
So do you think?
So, I mean, it don't have to be just
4
one.
miles in the north, 4 miles in the south?
Well, I think we just pick one right now and we do a section and see how it goes.
Okay.
I don't care where it happens. I just want to get it going. I mean, whatever's the worst. I mean, Boy Court area maybe, because it's,
Well, they can just pick if they want 2 miles in the South District and 2 miles, just show us 4 miles of road to get cleaned out and the ditch cleaned out in the next month, 30 days.
Can you take that to the foremans?
I'll take it to the foreman's. My one confusion, I guess, would be if we prioritize those roadways, not all of the land is owned by local owners, some by trust and things. So we may have to adjust the priority level by making contact with the owners of that land to
We're
get
not-
those,
We're not.
get those signatures.
We're not
telling
telling
you where,
which
you can just get
section,
what you
where.
want. Just get us 4 miles of road ditch cleaned out.
Okay.
I'll push it out to the foreman's.
so we'll have a dump truck, an equipment trailer, and a skid steer and an excavator, right?
Well, we've already got it.
I mean, that's what we need.
They're going to use what they need to complete the job.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I'm just saying, because taking the low boy out there, dropping a piece of equipment off, bringing it back, I think that they need to have everything right there with them. They're gonna have to contact landowners, correct? Do we have a piece of paper that talks about?
Waivers, yes.
Waivers, yeah?
Yes, we'd have waivers to sign. In some areas, we'd have to talk to landowners about the material once it's removed from the ditch lining, trying to dump close so we didn't incur fuel cost in hauling it away from the area. Though there'll be a little contact as far as the landowners that
So I
needs
don't
to be
think
made.
there are any farmers, and they're not gonna complain.
There'll be guys that got farm fields that don't want them cleaned out right now, but there's places along that I could come up 4 miles quick that, that we could find that to clear it.
And I
Their
think
people would let us and take the dirt. And
The excavator cleans the ditches, does the brush removing, and put it in the dump truck and go on. I mean, it sounds good in my head. I don't know what it's gonna be like in real life, but it's a start.
Okay.
So you're gonna pull people from the road crews to do that, right?
we're just gonna tell the road crews that's what we want. We've got a blader operator. We're not, right.
Okay, and I get that, but be prepared for then you're still gonna get the calls of my road has not been maintained, and the answer is gonna be because we have them doing ditches.
No, we may get some phone calls, but I'll tell you what, I think if we start seeing some progress in the county, we're gonna.
Right now, I call them and tell
I'll take them phone calls.
So,
if that's what's happening.
right now,
But I want to see the blades out in the morning. I don't want to have to come by at 10:30 and 11 o'clock in the morning and see them back in at 3 the same days. I tell you what, I've listened to that for 3.5 years now. As far as that's what happens, I want to see the blades out in the mornings and not bosses leaving at 3:30 in the day. I see a lot of things, Sean. I just see that. I see them leaving town at 3:30, the bosses, and it's,
Again, I explained what occurred or what was happening that day, and the foreman had a plan, enacted a plan. As far as the hours on the other shop foremans, I'll check and report back to you.
Well, I'm just saying, just like that day there wasn't a road in this county that we couldn't have took a blade operator down and bladed that day. There wasn't one. I don't care. I drove all the roads on the western side of the Mound City right here, and we could have bladed a lot of them that morning. The rain wasn't there.
Okay.
It hadn't rained.
But would that have, in that area, brought the overall area up as far as improvements or been the priority?
Whenever you have the blade down, right?
But that's not the priority. The priority is passable and repair
Well,
in all
I'd
those
say there's
areas.
a lot of roads in this county right now that's not passable, if you really want to, right now. So you could drive right out there and I could take you down them right now and they're not passable.
And,
So if you start somewhere,
and they were out assessing those roadways to try to prioritize their work. That's what I was told. And
I think there's a lot of assessment going on. Put a skid steer on the back of the,
why did we not have,
Down and get-
okay, I'll ask that. Why was the boss not assessing them and we had the blades out? And if the boss seen something that he could pass it on, or the dump truck operator drivers, because we wasn't hauling rock all that time. We have a lot of guys, but I just don't think we're utilizing our manpower. That's what I think, because I don't think we haul rock 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. If we want to go back and look at the tonnage, I think I could figure that out real quick.
We're starting with the ditch cleaning, 4 miles, 30 days. Okay.
I'll push it out to the foreman and report back to you next week on it.
so when are we starting on it? I just don't want to be a month and.
No, I said I'd report back next week, so I'll push it out to the foreman's report back to you as to whether or not they've got signatures, they've picked the roadway, and when they'll start on it. And if you're saying 30 days of completion date, then
4 miles.
So for 4 weeks, I'll report to you on the progress of that project.
Perfect.
I would like to see things designated tomorrow. Guys, pick a crew and get going on it. Like this ain't, it's not rocket science. It's not hard. It's not too many excuses. We get so many damn excuses in here. It's overwhelming now. Like, just do it. Just get it done.
Well, it's just like I'm saying is, Danny, we could have 2 or 3 blade operators clean the ditches out if the weather's right.
Yeah.
2 or 3 of them get out of the 7 and blade the road while you're doing it. After you're finished.
So on this clearing crew, are they gonna, I mean, do we need to write down in a job description form that the task we want them to do, or, I mean, a order of operations? I mean, what do we need to do here?
Are you wanting clearing crew, or are you wanting a foreman to be responsible in his area for clearing 4 miles of roadway?
I want,
All we ask is 4 miles of roadway in the county, right?
Yes.
and knock everything out in between. The culverts, check them, make sure they're good. I mean, that's all part of the ditching crew, isn't it? I mean, if something's not draining right, that's part of a ditch.
Roadway maintenance starts with keeping water off the
I
roadway.
just want to be sure they understand their task, and it's very evident to them.
I will,
Question, I don't want to have to come back next week and answer questions and then come back next week and answer more. I mean, let's just get it done. I mean, it's a trial and error thing. I just want to get it done.
Okay.
I will push it out and report back to you each week on it.
All right. What's next on the list?
Next on the list, you had some questions about the request for the semi or road tractor. That request included some answers about a trailer and its ability to carry that piece of equipment, or our largest piece of equipment, which is the X's, on that trailer behind a dump truck. The foremans got together, were able to look at it. They were unable to load the equipment based on the gross vehicle rating. Our dump trucks GVWR is 58,000 pounds or 29 tons. Dump truck has an empty weight of 24,000 pounds or 12 tons. The trailer is rated at 49,000 pounds, which is 24.5 tons. 40,000 pounds or 20 tons of cargo plus 9,000 pounds of weight for the trailer. The Cat 313 excavator weight with attachments and counterweight is estimated at 36,000 pounds or 18 tons. Combination weight of the trailer, 9,000 pounds plus the equipment. And the truck, 24,000 pounds, is 69,000 pounds or 34.5 tons, with everything exceeding the gross vehicle weight by 11,000 pounds or 5.5 tons. The wear on the truck will greatly decrease its lifespan and lead to costly repairs. There is also concern that the increased weight bearing on the rear axles and tires of the truck will lead to more tire changes. The overall length of a 20-ton trailer is 35 feet. The usable deck is 28 feet. The length of the excavator is 26 feet 6 inches, completely folded with the blade on the back. The excavator will have to be loaded with the cab at the tongue far forward of the weight-bearing capacity of the axles and tires. This places weight on the tongue and the pintle and the rear axles of the truck that will increase the wear of all these areas. There are several safety concerns that arise from transporting the excavator on the pintle hitch trailer. All of the trailers that can be found ready-made to have a deck height of 36 inches. This, in combination with the narrow point of contact at the hitch, creates a likelihood of the machine rocking the trailer. As we've traveled gravel roads, if the machine starts to tip, it will take the trailer with the truck. Hauling the excavator with the dump truck takes a truck away from their task. There also need to be multiple operators on the job if the truck is to be disconnected from the trailer and used to haul materials on or off the job site. This will take away from our already tightened manpower. The turning radius of the truck is also a concern, and trailer will greatly increase, making navigating county roads more difficult. The ride height of the machine could cause problems with overhead obstructions as well. The concerns in the gross vehicle weight cause them to not be able to load the trailer. They had some concerns about, Todd and Denny were looking at it, about damaging the trailer itself and did not want to do damage to it the way it tilts, because the machine would have to be loaded and the swing arm would have to be adjusted in order to help fall the trailer or tilt it in the manner that it needed to happen, which was also unsafe. If you have any questions for me about that or would like to see the statement or report they sent me, I've got it ready for you. I also sent David some photographs this morning of the old road tractor and the damage that it has to it.
Yeah, forwarded those on to you guys.
Mhm.
Again, based on the damage, the available equipment, and the need to move equipment around and the safety of our employees and our equipment, I would recommend that we take Nectrans bid and purchase the road tractor from them.
You'll say no?
I'm all for buying a new tractor. I think we can buy a trailer that we can put behind the truck, be just fine. Then we have 6 or 7 trucks to pull it with.
Danny?
All I heard was that what we just talked about, our plan of a dump truck and equipment trailer and getting equipment out there and doing 4 miles isn't going to work because we don't have we can't haul it, right?
can't haul it safely. The gross vehicle weight and hauling it with a dump truck is going to create a safety issue. Overweight on the trailer and the axles, as well as the truck's pulling capacity, and going to make it less safe for the operator and the public to move it down the roadway.
What'd you say the deck height on that was? 34 inches?
36. I have to confirm it, but I believe it was 36 inches. That's correct, 36 inches.
And that trailer's rated at, what'd you say it was? The gross vehicle,
Trailer's rated at 4,900 pounds, 24 and a half tons.
9,000.
The excavator weighs around 15 ton.
Excavator, counterweight, and attachments are estimated to be at 18 ton.
It shows that, I mean, if you look at a 313, it's around 15 is what I seen.
and then you said a concern with the tilt deck?
There was concern with the tilt deck where the position of the excavator would have to be to lower that deck, that the attachment would have to be moved around in order to facilitate the lowering of that deck, meaning that it could not, the arm could not be extended behind the X and still lower that deck. So they'd have to move the arm in to get the tilt bed to lower, and that quite probably they would have to move the arm to the side to get the counterweight to fall.
Are you still no on the semi?
I'm just trying to do my duty. I don't know. Just we buy things and that don't coincide with the next thing we have, and nothing ever works together, it seems like. So we buy one thing, we have to buy something else to make it work, and it's getting old. You know, what year is our low boy? When's it slated to be replaced?
What year was the semi tractor?
1993 on the semi. He asked for the low boy.
The trailer itself.
I don't have the date of the trailer in front of me.
What's the condition of it? Are we going to turn around and have to buy one of these in 2 years?
Not to my understanding. It's the tractor that is the issue at this point.
Well, I get that, but then it seems like we buy something to make something else work, and then there's always another issue. We had to purchase something else. What was the rating on our dump trucks?
Gross vehicle weight for the truck? 5,800 pounds or 29 tons?
58,000.
58,000 or 29 tons.
See one lowboy trailer listed in our equipment schedule that's a 1998 model.
Where's that fall in the equipment plan? Be replaced.
There's one listed, a triple axle lowboy RE 241 for 2025. But we haven't replaced anything for 2024, so.
They want to replace the boy trailer in 2025. I don't think we need two in the county myself.
So a good used one is, or I guess a new one, a 2024 is 70 grand,
For what?
a low boy.
They estimated 80,000 on the equipment plan. But they're asking for a tractor.
I know, Jason, I know what they're asking for, man. What I'm asking, I'm looking down the line. I know they're asking for a tractor now, but then it's going to be a low boy next year.
And that's on the equipment plan.
Yeah, I know. I want a new truck next year too. That's in my equipment plan, but it doesn't even get it.
I personally don't think we need to be buying a new one, no more miles than we put on.
I see the truck that we have in the photos that I've sent you, the safety risk to our operators.
We still have one truck in the county that operates, right?
We have one truck in the north shop that is operational. But again, if we're asking to move this equipment around and to get this done in a timely fashion, the only operators that can pull this vehicle, no matter how we move it around or this equipment, is going to be a Class A driver. So the number of vehicles is not the only determining factor on how many people or how many opportunities we have to move this equipment. Moving it safely and then moving it proficiently to get the task done in a timely fashion, those are concerns. And if you look at the equipment list that we've given you, the 3 to 5 year plan, we've put that together as an overall plan for the next 3 to 5 years of requests that we would make and equipment we would change out based on the condition and what we know today. But as you remember, we purchased BXs the year before, believe the skid steers, but we had things on that equipment plan that were held up or stopped so that we could have an auction and find out whether the continual funding could be put back in that. And the auction went well. We still have not done any or made any large purchases off this equipment plan in recent months. The funding continues to pile up in there, and our continuing age of our equipment and the service lifespan of our equipment gets no better.
And neither does our roads. I don't think I don't think it's being ran right. I don't think that the operation of our county barns are correct. I think we got to redo it. And that has nothing to do with Sean, with the workers, nobody. It falls on us. And I think it's been neglected too long. I mean, when landowners call me, I can't give them all right, put a report in. They'll be out there to get you. That's not a fix. I mean, Jim, is that what you tell them? What do you tell them? What do you tell them?
Well, just like I said, I told them to call, report it, then I get a call on Saturday. Maintainer drove by and nothing happened.
But we
They
can't.
drove all around their place.
We can't tell them. Oh yeah, we're working out here on this mile section. You know, we're gonna get to you. We're gonna figure it out. We're getting it. We're fixing the issue because we're not fixing the issue. And I'm not taking away from their equipment plan. I know they put a lot of effort into it, but I'm not going to watch what I say up here because I don't want to offend people about their equipment plan. Like, yes, it's a good equipment plan for how they have things running right now, but I don't think things are running correctly. So I just don't. So if they take offense to that, I apologize. I'm not trying to take away from them and tell them that their equipment plan sucks and nothing like that. What I'm trying to say is I don't think that our order of operation in the county barns are correct. So therefore, how do we know what our equipment list should be?
Well, the equipment list, as you said, was based off of the needs at the time, and they did. We put the financials and the specs and the request in based off the operation that we had at the time and that we perceived going forward. And there is a considerable amount of time and effort that goes in with all the foremen's, mechanics bringing us specs and the staff putting those things together. And I do believe if you look across the county, we are the only department that brings one forward for you. And we do make considerable efforts to try to complete the plan that you give us and the requests you give us to project out that money and to be responsible with that spending as well with the requests that we make in line with that spending.
So, well, I personally don't think we need no more miles than we put on the truck, but I think we can find a used truck instead of spending $162,000 on a lower end truck.
So would you support a used truck? At what level?
I think we could find one in the $50,000 figure that would work just fine for what we want.
I would have to bring back the numbers to you on what we purchased the Norsop's used truck for, but I'm being told we sank nearly that back in it in trying to repair it and the issues that it had.
Would you look into a used truck?
I can do whatever you request it.
So that brings us back to this idea we had about cleaning ditches. Now they're not gonna be able to do that because of the trailer we have.
The truck that we have down in this shop, and you've got photos of it. It's a 30-year-old truck. It's got damage to the driver area of the floor pan. The truck has multiple issues with it, and I don't believe it will be able to be safely operated for very much longer.
We're not telling them how to clean out the 4 miles of ditches, Danny. We're telling them to clean out.
No,
4
but
miles.
what's gonna happen is they can't get the equipment there. It'd take 2 weeks to get the equipment there because we don't have a trailer or a truck to do it.
So you're saying that no matter what trailer we have with the dump truck, we can't, if we was to buy a new trailer, we couldn't find a trailer to pull the dump truck and be right?
I'd have to look at the gross vehicle weight. I'm saying the trailer that you ask us to look into.
Let's look into another trailer to where that, see what a trailer that will, you can buy them with electric ramps,
Dovetails, yeah, you can do.
dovetails, and look to find a trailer that our dump trucks will pull and see what the price is there. Because then that allows us a lot of options, whoever wants to take the trailer.
It still requires a driver to pull that trailer.
It does, but you don't want, you buy that semi, you don't want 5 or 6 people driving that semi. You want one guy responsible. Maybe a couple, 2 or 3 will have to drive it, but you want one guy responsible for that truck.
Okay, so look at a different trailer to pull behind the dump trucks. Look at options as far as a used truck on the lowboy.
Okay.
Okay, next item.
Dust control looks like it's going to be May 20th, but I'll have to confirm that date. Joyce is working with them currently on weather and condition. We'll finalize that date as we get a little closer, but it's going to be dictated by the weather. Mound City compactor site took damage in the flooding. I've asked our maintenance department to pull the interior of the building and the insulation to make sure that we don't have any damp or moldy insulation left in the building. We're going to have to do some repairs to it. I'd also assume that there's outside or water damage to the outside of the sheeting. So we'll have to deal with that here in the near future. Asphalt bids.
Oh, let's go back to the transfers or the compactors.
Okay.
We 6 months ago, we had draft or legal papers draft from Gary or something for each city, correct? Of how we wanted to operate this.
MOAs for,
Yeah. So what are we doing with those? So now we're still in the same position, and now we're taking care of something that I don't feel like that is our responsibility.
okay. I've talked with Mark about that and the engineering that we're doing at the landfill and the overall solid waste program. And he is going to be pulling up and trying to find those documents from what's been transferred from our old council. And then again, these are boilerplates. So you're going to have to, when you receive them, you're going to have to tell us what you want for cities, for lake communities.
We've already done all that, have we not? We've talked about this multiple times.
We've talked about what we've put into those, but you need to look at those agreements as they've been written and make sure that they are what you want.
So let's get going. What are we waiting on? It doesn't have, that's not going to impact the landfill.
If you've got the agreements that were originally sent out to you, then reviewing them and making any changes before they're signed and moved over to the cities is the only thing.
Okay.
But as far as what was sent to you by our prior council or what's been sent to you now, and where you're at with that, I can't answer as far as that plan. I know it was developed.
Can you find those and send those back out to us, David?
I'm looking in those files right now.
Okay, thank you.
David, if you could send it to me as well. I've not seen them.
Didn't Pleasanton site flood too? Didn't Pleasanton site flood or just the way to get to it?
I'm not aware that it took water in the building. If it did, it wasn't reported to me. The other concern for the Mound City site would be all of the 3-phase electrical components and control panels that went underwater. The site's been operational, but I still would like someone to come in and look at that equipment to make sure that equipment not only is safe to operate, but doesn't tear itself apart later on at a later date. There's not some maintenance issue that was created by the water that I'm unaware of.
Where I would like to be is, and we've talked about this multiple times, but for the cities to take responsibility for the sites and anything on the building, I guess, itself and the operations of it. And then we only have the responsibility for the equipment and hauling and dropping off containers.
Okay.
And even as far as permitting and stuff, we work with the cities and they hold that in their name. Because there's been multiple times since I've been a commissioner, we've gotten in trouble by KDHE because of stuff that the city's done that we are over, but they do what they want. So let's give them the sites.
I can't disagree that it would be in everybody's best interest to be more uniform from all of the sites from cities to lake, that they hold the permits and that the site themselves are controlled by them and permitted by them, and that we perform the operation of removing and owning the infrastructure or containers that are removed from the site and pull the waste.
So that we can rehash this again, it's not just people from the city that are dumping at those sites, Danny, and that's where we get into issues, I think, with the cities on transferring all of it to them. I'm not saying that we can't have memorandums of understanding that define those things out, but I think we have to, once again, work with them to try to manage it, because it's not just.
It's been over a
city
year.
people.
We've been dealing with this over a year. How much have we spent on containers?
We'd still be in charge of the container.
No, I'm just saying, how much have we spent on that?
But I'm kind of like what Jason does say, even though the city is over it, everybody in the county uses it too. But then you go to the lake developments and Linn Valley.
But they own their compactor.
Yeah, but no, we can't use it. But they own it all.
The city of Pleasant, they hire an employee out there. So should he not push the button for people that are dumping trash from out of the city? We can come back with excuses all day long, but we've been dealing with this for how long? Now we redid Blue Mound's trash compactor, right? It cost us close to $10,000, right? The dwelling.
The building, we reshaped it and skinned it.
It
Yeah.
was like $7 to $10,000. Pleasanton is always on me about moving their trash compactor. I think we should give them the right to do what they want with it. They don't want it in the middle of their ball fields. I understand that. And then Pleasanton, I don't know something happened personally with whoever they have hired out there. My phone rang 25 different times last week because that trash compactor wasn't open. But weren't you in charge? No, I don't really know what's going on out there, people. I don't know. I don't know why it's closed. But I shouldn't have no responsibility. That's not my responsibility. That's Pleasanton. Our last contract was 1968 or something like that. 86, 68 is before I was born. How's the equipment at all of them?
We've gone back and fixed a few sites, but the equipment is dated, especially the compactors themselves. But as far as its condition, we've been able to we've got a contact and a company to call in to work on those. So
what's that cost when they have to come work on something? What's an average?
I couldn't tell you the average because some of them are small electronical fixes. And then Prescott, we recently closed our operation on the tipping floor and it was hydraulic. So there were major components replaced. And I'm being told it is operating above and beyond what
how much we pay for all that?
I couldn't tell you what the total cost. I brought it in and you guys approved it.
Jason, you seem like you're getting annoyed. Is there something you want to say? You don't want to talk these details? 'Cause I do. You talked details with Evergy last week that I knew nothing about, didn't you?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I heard you had a meeting with them. I'm trying to talk details right here. Be open with everybody and knock shit out as we talk about. We've been talking about this stuff for a year. We look like a joke. Let's get something done. That's all I want to do. How many more years you got?
2 more.
Okay, you got a long time. I don't. So can we get stuff knocked out that I have a hand in?
Did you have a meeting with Everett, Jason?
So they called me and asked me to go out there and talk to them about the bridges. And I did go out there and talk to them about the bridges and told them that they needed to come in here and talk to us about the bridges.
Okay.
Is that sufficient or?
That's fine. I mean,
that
been
is
2
what I
weeks
did.
ago, and we never heard anything about it. Well, I did, but not from you.
So you don't have any meetings outside of here?
I'm not saying I don't have, but if I do, I tell you.
All I'm saying is I want to get things knocked out. We've talked about this for a year. It's always, there's an excuse for everything. We got to get engineering, we got to get a design, and in the meantime, we just continue to spend money.
You go back to that, Jason, if that's the case, and they came, if we'll talk about this, why could they not come and talk to all three of us about it?
I don't know why they reached out to me only.
I'm just saying, why couldn't you say just come if they want to talk to it, come talk to all three of us?
I didn't.
Just it. I mean, if they realize they come to us, so.
Okay.
Why couldn't they not done that to begin with? Then you didn't even talk. That'd be like me going last week and talking to the area on aging and not coming to you and telling you what I talked about. They reached out to me. I came the next day and told you.
Right.
Didn't wait 2 weeks.
Okay. Guess I should have handled that better. Continually, right?
Some would think. Danny and I didn't know about it if we wouldn't have been told. If I wouldn't have been told, I guess Danny got told about it too, what sins. It's who else knew about it? Lots of confusion.
Very much.
So as far as the compactor sites, we brought every single city in here and brought them in here, and they all sat here in one meeting, correct? You guys remember that?
I do.
And we asked them, we put together a meeting and we explained what was going on, and we asked every one of them to give us input, pros and cons and whatever they wanted to talk about. Did they give us any input at all? I don't believe they did they?
I believe from the meeting, what I recall of it, there was concern about whatever portion the county pays, as far as whether it's for the site or for the personnel, from several of the smaller communities. And the concern was not only about what Jason had mentioned about taking in from other places, but in one instance, I remember speaking to one gentleman that made the comment that without the money for the personnel, that their site, they may not be able to fund the personnel.
We don't even supply any money for the personnel to do it. We give them
We pay them rent on the
a
space,
little bit,
and
$300.
most of them use that toward their paying a person, but no, it's not a direct.
Then we pay, they pay the electric or we pay it.
I thought we had electric. We'd have to look at records.
We paid an AT&T bill for how many years that no one ever knew about, we used. Spent a lot of money on that. It's just, I don't think it's correct. I mean, do we have some kind of special fund set back for when that equipment in the landfill budget, that when that equipment breaks down, that we're putting money into so we can fix it?
We have money for solid waste in the equipment reserve fund that could be used for that.
We have,
That's what we've been using to fix the boxes, right?
Some of it, yeah.
So, I mean, when this equipment goes down, is that what we're gonna use to fix it?
We're going to have,
That we're gonna use those funds for the building in Mound City that's damaged now? Or is that an insurance claim or what?
it'll have to be an insurance claim as far as the amount and whether or not it is a claim for the flood damage. I can't answer as to the funding on it until we get it fixed and find out how we're going to fund that and which it's going to be, whether it's going to be storm damage and recovered from there, or it's going to be insurance, or whether flood insurance would even cover something like that low lying in that area.
Got something? I mean,
I don't have.
let's either not do it or do it. I mean, that's where I'm at. We paid Gary to draft it, didn't we?
I just emailed all of you a proposed contract with cities that came out of his files. Also another one where it was just some of the information on how they operate now and what we were looking for. But I think something you're gonna need to remember on that too is this is an agreement between county and city. It's not, we just say this is it. You're gonna have to get cities to agree to it.
Correct.
Because if they don't sign off, then what do we do?
I don't know. I guess we could. There's a lot of scenarios. We shouldn't do nothing because there's always an excuse for everything. So getting something done around here. I'm tired of taking ass chewing from everybody over it. Not having a plan. We have no plan. I'll refer him to you guys. Tell them you guys have a better excuse than I do because I don't have a good one.
Okay.
Next item.
Last week you chose Bettis Asphalt and Construction for your asphalt overlay on Wall Street to finish out that project. If you recall, there was an indexed price option and we needed a fixed price option. The fixed price option for the same 1.5-inch overlay came in at $629,412. The indexed option was $607,695. You remember the fixed from the other bids is still $4 lower because I had anything ranging from 607 to 689 for possibilities depending on pricing and the bids that we received. I understand this is higher than the 607 indexed option, but the indexed option is not a guarantee. It could increase well over 680, depending on pricing. If you would like to lock that in, the fixed option is 629,412 at this time. But we would have to accept the proposal and accept the fixed option in the proposal.
Now will that be higher than what the other option was, the other bid?
I believe it's $4 a unit cheaper is my understanding.
The 629 is $4 cheaper than the other bid.
That was what I was told this morning, but I haven't looked at the bid recently.
Kilo was 689,000 on their fixed price bid.
This is 629.
Yes. Correct. I think we should lock it in.
Yeah, and the Bettis bid originally where it was variable at the time was 607, 695. But if we're asking them to lock it in, it's higher than that.
getting yelled at. You hear it?
No.
I can play it if you want me to.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we go with Bettis in the amount of $629,412 to lock in our asphalt for the 5.5 miles on Wall Street. Is that the correct? 5.5 miles on Wall Street. Is that right? It's been moved and seconded to go with the fixed bid price, $629,412 with Bettis for the asphalt for the 5.5 miles on Wall Street. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Commissioners, I can either give you the acceptance or I can sign that and send it back in. It doesn't have any requirements on it either way. It's just an acceptance of the bid. Lagoon project update. Met with Kansas Rural Water Association last Wednesday. The purpose of that meeting was to make sure, since we're putting in a lot of funding and a lot of effort into dredging and reconditioning these lagoons at the park, that we do it correctly. Understand that I've held a license since I came on with the county. I was required to go get one as a wastewater one operator. And this is the first large project we're doing. Kansas Rural Water Association has funding that provides assistance to operators and area operators and agencies like ourselves and like myself to give us direction in these projects and assist with the state. We went over piping options. I believe we're going to stay within budget, and we're also going to put the piping options back in so that the flow will allow for more retention or detention time in those cells, which will give us a higher quality output and give us more longevity in those cells. And it won't require any extra permitting or anything of that nature. We're not adjusting, we're making it better and putting it back in the way it was or should have been. We also talked, Jesse was out there as well and talked about the slopes, the nature and the reconditioning of the sidewalls, the dirt work and the riprap. Everybody walked away from the meeting with a good understanding, and the assistance, Kira is going to message the state with our intentions and doesn't believe that there's going to be a large need for any additional permitting or anything at this time. So we're going to work and continue to work with them to manage the lagoon project. After the rain this week, we'll be pumping it out, and we hope to, as soon as that first cell dries out, start the piping and then move on to the dirt work and continue down to cell 2 and cell 3 as weather allows, and I'll continue to update you on that. The next thing I had was dock bids. We had quotes to put in the dock system. As you remember, we were donated a dock system from Evergy. That system was a self-floating polymer or plastic type dock system that had connecting parts and pieces. You got several quotes. The one that I would recommend us using is parts, installation, and pipes, which is $11,198. This not only includes the parts necessary to take the dock configuration that we were given to make a boat slip out of it and use it in a different configuration, but it also has the installation of this dock system included, as well as the poles that are used, the mud poles to hold this dock system in place. That does not account for the removal of the old dock system, which I believe we can complete ourselves, but the removal of the old dock system just over $6,000 if we choose to add that as well. Again, I believe it's not a complicated process to remove that dock, remove the mud poles that are there, and then hire someone in. And again, I believe we should use ARPA funding and denote that we're setting aside ARPA funding for this project to get it completed.
And this is ARPA money we was gonna use on the landfill.
I believe we're going to use a large sum of that ARPA funding on the landfill, but yes, it's ARPA funding of what is remaining of that funding. It would earmark just over $11,000 of that for this project. And the dock system, as I understand it, that we were given or donated, is quite a bit more expensive than, obviously, we put in this bid, we've put parts into it and labor to put it together, but you're talking about a dock system that, when it was new, was 6 or 7 times what we're looking at. So
Which when we voted for this, I thought it was just gonna be floated over and put into place and it wasn't gonna cost.
That's kind of what I thought.
it was on a pond system on Evergy's property.
It's a nice dock. I saw it sitting out there. So the old one, you think it's gonna cost $6,000 to remove it?
If we contract, it'll be $6,200 to remove that system.
And if we don't contract it, we'll use our guys to do it.
If we don't contract it, my plan is to take the hardware that holds the mud poles together and the dock system in place, because it's held by mud poles, take it loose from the bank and move it approximately 100 feet over to the loading ramp, and to use the large excavator to pull it out of the lake at the loading ramp, so that we don't have to reach out and extend to get that system out of the water and go further than our X is capable of. I believe we can float it to where we can get it out.
Is it something we can open up and see if there's somebody that we can donate it to if they take it out of there? Kind of like we were wanting to take bids on getting that house down out there. I mean, would that be realistic? I don't want to take our road and bridge guys to do something like this. Here we are giving them hell about what's going on, and now we want to take them to do this. I think that's a good example of what not to do.
I don't think you're going to get any. We had difficulty getting someone to bid to remove it, much less someone to come take it for what it's worth, because quite frankly, it's seen its lifespan. It's scrap metal and a lot of trash as far as the wood decking and the floats to go with the scrap metal, and the scrap metal isn't worth that much.
What do you guys think? No thoughts?
I think we're spending a lot of money up there.
Have you talked to, so Don George has a lot of contacts in the dock industry. Have you talked to him about all this?
We've talked to him consistently. He's one of the reasons I believe we can remove the docks, because he said they had 2 flat platforms that could be used to aid us in the removal or installation.
And if when this thing gets installed, how are we going to advertise? I mean, are we going to advertise, or how does it work? I mean, I think we had total boat slip. What was it last year or 2 years ago? It hasn't been very much, has it? I mean, we haven't made very much money off of it.
No, not with the dock that we've got out there and the condition it's in. And quite frankly, it's twisted right now. So one half of one section's 8 feet out of the water. And it's been in poor condition since I was at the park, but I don't believe it's necessarily the money we make off of it. It's the attraction of people to come down there and use the rest of the facilities as well. But it does give them a boat slip so that they can enjoy the area and the camping and the marina facilities, make it more attractive to use the park.
Well, I agree with you there, but I don't think we can start with the boat dock on that. I thought when we agreed to get this, it was just a floated over thing is what we were told. And
I don't recall floating it over. They moved it and brought it to us. But it, like I said, it was on a pond system completely separate of the lake itself. And it was used as a linear walkway, for whatever that water system was or its purpose for the plant.
I think I've been pretty vocal today. What do you guys think? I'll keep my comment to myself on this.
Commissioners, if you would, while you discuss this, I'm going to grab a drink real quick.
So we're not gonna do it?
Never said that. I don't know. We were sold under the impression that it was a floated over type deal, and it was going to be put in.
Well, I thought it was just floating it over and it was gonna, or bringing it over and we wasn't gonna spend any money, is what I thought.
I think what's the boat slip rent out for a day, or how's that work? It's like $3 a day or something. $5.
Somewhere $3 to $5 a day.
Is there?
How many boat slips will be in this one?
In the configuration that they're using, I believe, if I'm correct, it would be 6 to 8 boat slips.
6 to 8.
6 to 8. Using both sides of the walkway and a similar pattern of what's there now as far as a T shape with extensions off of the center walkway.
Can that boat, or can that dock system be used anywhere else on that lake to benefit fishermen or anything like that? I mean, there's that north boat ramp that looks homemade, kind of.
The north boat ramp is in the primitive camping area. As far as its use in that area,
Can you take a few pieces and make a loading area for a boat there, or no?
no, it wouldn't serve any purpose for loading it, maybe docking. And in that area, we get a lot more, I guess, damage to infrastructure because it's away from the marina. I'd be concerned somewhat of what could happen to this type of a large expenditure down there without any cameras or anything in that area, because we have a lot less control or governance over it.
So out at the lake, what do we have? The lagoons, we're going to spend how much more on that to finish it up?
We've allocated all the dirt, the rock, and everything for that project. We've dredged and already paid for that end of the project. We're looking at around $8,000 worth of plumbing work. And then the rest would be our operators taking that rock and dirt work, or rock and dirt material, and moving it down the hill from where we staged it at the bathhouse and putting that in. Now, I can say that once they stage the rock and or riprap and the dirt around, there will be some erosion control, planting grass on the berms around it to keep it from silting back in, or the rainwater.
So another, we'll put, what, 15 to 18,000 probably to finish, you think?
I can't guess at that. Depends on how much that dirt or clay at the top of the hill, how much of that we can bring the berms back in condition with. So I don't believe that we should have, we've already approved the 8,000 for the plumbing. So at this point,
Who's going to do all the moving and the rock and all that?
we are. Our North Shop foreman, Jesse, has met with Kira and worked out the details of what needs done. And he's also, in his previous history, worked lagoon operations and has a good grasp of what needs to be done to finish out that project. We've got the tubing, the transfer tubing in hand in our shops. We won't spend any money for them.
So we're taking it away from the roads and the work orders and the rest of the disaster we have on the roads to do this.
You're going to use anywhere from 2 to 4 operators, I would have to imagine, between drivers and operators at different times as those cells dry out as we move through this project. But this project probably won't be complete for several months. It will be done as we can get to it.
In the prime time of grading the roads. How do you guys feel about that? I just don't think we should be taking the road and bridge guys away from the road and bridge. Look what we have going on right now because of it. I guess I would rather spend the 12,000 or whatever it was to hire a company to come in and finish what we got going on rather than do the dock right now. The lake isn't, I just don't feel like it's where we need to be on or be at. You know? I feel like we have a bunch of improvements that need to happen out there to try to catch up.
Okay, number one concerns the roads. It should be, I think.
And what's the condition of like the bathrooms and all that stuff out there?
We only use one bathhouse year round. We've put continual repairs in it, but it's the original bathhouse that was brought there. The pool house or the other bathhouse that was used at the pool that's been taken out is only opened up very rarely when large gatherings are there. But as far as the condition of those buildings, they're dated, they're aged, but they're block buildings. So as far as the roof structure and everything else, that they're cinder block buildings. There's no large construction issues as far as foundation or walls that I'm aware of.
We can make a decision on it and move forward with it, or we can kick it down the road like we do on everything else.
I'm just trying to bring to light everything that is going on out there and what we need to do. So then we have the swimming on top of that, right?
We told him not to go out for bid on this.
I know, but it's an option to do that, but we have to have engineering and then we have the Airbnb. The details type of guy, Jason, we got a dock that I was under the impression it was a floated over, pretty much done deal, and now we have 12 grand in it.
Plus another 6 to,
Demo the other one.
uh,
The demo of the other one.
I think we need to start talking about details.
You want to make a motion on how we should proceed, or?
I was looking for some input from you guys, what your guys' thoughts are.
Do we have any idea what it would cost to purchase and or build a dock like this for similar size or usage?
I don't.
Do we have a need for this dock system?
To replace the system that's there.
I know there's one there, but do we need this?
Do we need it in order to operate a boat slip and to make the camping more attractive to people who come there because of the fishing? People either come there for the fishing or they come there for the camping or both, and to make it attractive for them to come use our facilities and spend time or money there. I would say we've got a courtesy dock that you can get on and off at the boat ramp. You've got a small fishing dock and then the boat slip. I don't believe our infrastructure there is overbuilt.
We have a reservation system that is not existing right now. which I think you have a handle on that, what we're going to do?
Well, again, the kiosk that we have doesn't interface with most of the online reservation systems that we've been able to locate. If you'd like to move away from the kiosk itself, then I'll be happy to give you options and costs as far as online reservation systems. As far as the cabins go independently, we can move those and still maintain the kiosk, and we could move those to an Airbnb, but you are talking about time management as far as cleaning and staff, more time from our part-time housekeeper that we've hired, and then the hours needed to clean the bedding and other things. And we only have one washer and dryer at the other end of the
Well, that's what you do.
park.
I mean, I owned cabins for a long time. We have multiple sets of sheets and things to take with you. It's not as hard as we're making it, I promise. Like, I promise you.
I would,
These cabins should be making us money left and right. And it's irritating that it's not. Irritating that we talked about the reservation system out there for 3 months and still nothing. I guess I'll just reach out to some companies and do it myself. That is the most important to me beyond the dock. Like there's a lake down there. It's one of the top 100 in the Midwest or something like that. That no one, I bet you 20% of the county doesn't even know it exists. Would you guys agree? I mean, if I want to go camping, I want to be able to go 2 months and reserve a camping site online to know if I'm going to pull my big fifth wheel camper down here or not. Like it doesn't make sense to me. I don't like how it's operating. I don't think it's running efficiently, and I think it needs a change. I'm sorry if that hurts anyone's feelings. I'm not taking away from anybody. So I know it's a big issue and everybody takes it personal. It's not. I just don't think it's being ran correctly. I think we have to redo it.
Senior Center, Randy's looking into the north door issue and going to get back with me on it. And Danny was going to look at the drainage and get back to me so that we can make sure that that seal plate doesn't stay wet. Along with that, we had some issues at the old courthouse where GIS and appraisers moved into. We had some water come down that brick wall into the building. They noticed the carpet's wet around the windows. We got up on the roof system and looked, and the drain was plugged again. We had to put some new wiring over that. And I got with IT to make sure, instead of trying to climb up there every 30 days to see if the drain had plugged or spend repetitive time going up and down a ladder, or danger to the employees doing it, I've asked IT to look into the possibility of shining a camera or pointing a camera from the back bell tower down, because the roof system is coated in a white overlay or coating. That dark ball that's over that drain, the size of a basketball, stands out and should be very visible on camera, so that we don't have to climb back and forth and get it. But it's going to be something we're going to have to continually check that drain system to make sure it's not plugged.
All Justice Center.
Yes.
So if you
The same one that you cut open.
So yeah, if you notice on the north windows, they've done the same thing. They put like a drain weep system where the windows fur out. They took a drill, like a 1/4-inch bit, and they put holes up in it. Because I think what's happening is that gutter system goes down into that, and then it fills up and gets above the header, in the middle, and that's when it's floating in the window. So if we put poke holes, I don't think it'll happen again. Because they did the same exact thing on the north side. And I can got it today, but
Well, we also took that, there's 3 downspouts coming off that side of the building. and we piped them all to the west side of the building, tried to keep the water away from the window ledges when we get all this heavy rain as well.
Yeah, but I think when it up top where it runs into those big old furred out areas, it fills up and then it comes above that window. But if the white panel that's below it, if you look up above the window or look right above it, I can go look at it. But I thought we talked about that here a while back, but when that first happened, but maybe there never was weep holes put in it. I think that'd keep it from water collecting inside there and raising.
And raising up and overflowing.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember when it originally happened, watching you cut the mesh that had been sprayed over and the holes were half the size that they originally were out, and that was the original problem, or at least what started the cascading effect that led to that flood in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's just a maintenance thing we got to keep track of.
Red transportation bus was parked on the west side of this building last week, and the driver's window was damaged. We made contact to law enforcement and then IT. We looked at the video. IT reviewed it, found the exact time frame that the window was damaged, and can find nothing other than the window exploded. There was no one around it. There was no operations going around that could explain what occurred at the time, or anyone in the area from any of the other cameras. But it is very clear that the driver's window is very visible on the camera, and it's the reason we parked them in that location. The right underneath the camera blew out on the driver's side for whatever reason.
Middle of the night?
I believe it was 8:13 the evening that it occurred. So it was still during daylight. So whether or not there was a rock chip, I can't tell you. And neither can IT by the photo. It was parked in good condition and it blew out. I know you just did the resolution for the green bus. Obviously, it's the only thing we've got to auction, so we'd want to do similar to what the fire department's talking about, seal bids, advertise it locally. Again, we get the first 5,000 and everything after that, 80% of, if it brings anything more than that. So we'd want to advertise it locally, but until it's advertised, the window repair on the red bus occurs this coming Friday. So we plan on keeping that bus in service until this Friday when the other bus comes back online.
Okay.
That resolution's just giving us the authority to dispose of it. So nothing wrong with using it in the meantime.
Okay.
Commissioners, I would need 5 minutes of legal. You, David, and our counsel.
Do we have any other executive session? No. I'll make a motion that we recess the Board of County Commissioners into executive session for legal counsel with our counsel, Sean West, David Lamb, and return for 5 minutes and return at 12:39.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Okay, there's no action from executive session. Do we have anything else to come before this meeting? I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Adjourned.